Happy Monday. Ooh, welcome back to Retake the Week. It's been a surprisingly busy 7 days. I mean, a couple of smaller events to follow. Of course, the last remaining dregs of rostermania still, you know, trickling through. Some of which we already knew was coming, some of which we didn't. I did try to go over some of them very reactionarily on Thursday, or Friday rather, on stream, but not really covered it in its entirety. Not had that conversation with Quack about exactly what we think of all these moves. But yeah, we do have a bunch of stuff to talk about again. Now, we will be focusing a lot on sort of like a half-year review, basically just taking a look at what HLTV did as their like temporary awards and thinking about currently right now if we agree, but also I think trying to make some projections as to like what's going to happen in the next 6 months, because obviously we just had a whole bunch of changes to top teams especially, so there's going to be some interesting discussions to be had. Before we get into any of that though, we do have to thank the people who make this show so wonderful. That is the members. They are the ones who support the show best. They're the ones who allow me to do it with quite the amount of work I put into it, like in terms of all my shows, paying editors, trying to do different, new, more interesting things. Without members, it wouldn't be possible. Members, of course, get access to interviews, behind the scenes, live stream VODs, the right to vote, and the right to ask questions in the monthly Q&A. Of course, we do also have Quack with us, who might have some stuff to promote of his own, so we'll throw it over to him. What have you got going on this week, Quacker?
Work. Go read my articles as always on Fragbite. Not much special going on at the moment. But like I said last week, we have a fun thing happening next week on this show, which I'm not going to tell you about. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really cool.
Mysterious,
no,
of course.
Yeah. Yeah, very mysterious. But that's why you have to tune in next week. You have to. But yeah, also read Fragbite articles, and it's gonna help me, especially my ones. Next time I'm working is this weekend, so especially read them. And that's gonna inflate my numbers, and I can demand a higher salary at some point. Just yeah. Every time you ask me that, I always have to think, what the fuck did I do this week? And I didn't do much. but
basically, all it reveals is how much of a bum you are.
Yeah. It's summer. Oh, yeah, I did do one thing this week. I had some friends over on Friday. We played Risk, the board game,
right,
which was fun. But we also drank a lot of beer, and we were gonna go out to the pub afterwards. So but just as we were leaving, it's about midnight. The door to my stairwell in my apartment is open, and somebody knocks over. Like, as they're getting dressed, somebody knocks over a cider, which somebody placed on the floor for some reason. They knock it over and spills everywhere. And there's a big screaming match. And this is midnight in the stairwell of my apartment. A bunch of 20-something men are shouting at the top of their lungs. So I get downstairs, and there's my downstairs neighbor. And she's visibly upset. Because she's just heard grown men arguing in the stairwell of her apartment at midnight on a Friday. She's a bit spooked. So for the rest of the so I apologized, and for the rest of the weekend, I have not exited my apartment because I'm scared of running into her.
Wait, so your friends were having a shouting match in your staircase?
Yep.
All right.
And they thought maybe this was like a big. My neighbors thought like, oh shit, what the fuck is going down? This sounds like. Do we need to call the police? Like, what's going on?
Quack's friends, confirmed alcoholic degenerates who have screaming fights over a single cider.
Yeah, half actually.
Oh, half a cider. Oh, wow.
Yep.
Y'all are special. Very special people.
It was a lot of fun.
But yeah, no, the last week has been, it's been a fresh heat wave all over Europe as well. It's been uncomfortable at times, but hey. Can't complain. At least we get to go outside and see the sun. It's a difference. It's our full year's stock of vitamin D, basically, in the space of a week. Can't complain too much. But all right. Oh, I'm out of focus for whatever stupid reason. There we go. Let's get into it. We are starting with a conversation about basically the HLTV Awards. Where we're at, where we're going to be. There's going to be a lot of, based on what we did pre-show, a lot of bickering about arbitrary things. I'm going to be honest. But we're going to start with some of the easier ones. I think that are maybe a little more cut and dry as far as who's valid. But we're also going to talk about currently the winner and probably projecting a bit who's going to be a nominee, at least come the end of the year. We're going to start with Anchor of the Year. I think that's a bit of an interesting occasion because you're like, there are some players which I think are contenders by the time we reach the end of the year, but right now, is anyone really an option besides Mezzi? Like, do you think, at least in conversation with Mezzi?
No, especially not if, I think what they've said is they don't like putting the same player in several categories in terms of closer, opener, anchor. I think there's an argument to put both Rops and maybe even Flamesy in the Anchor of the Year conversation, but definitely not over Mezzi. But yeah, no. So the nominees, the 5 players they've put in the lead for this are Bit, Heavy God, Jimpat, Mezzi, and PR. And I think out of that bunch, it's definitely Mezzi.
Yeah, I feel like Bit and Jimpat are here because it's like, well, they're on top-ish teams and they play Anchor, and historically they've been really good. This year, there's no real case to make. Like, they've just not been great.
Bit has nothing to go for this. I'm wondering, like, who would I even put in here if I was putting somebody over? I feel like Bit is the most egregious one. Who would I put above him? And aside from other Vitality players, I would probably put, I think maybe there's a case for Techno, but he's also like quite bad.
He's been horrible.
Yeah, it's just that he has a lot of good qualities, which like. None
of them are being good at Counter-Strike.
No, he's got a lot of clutches. He's got a lot of clutches, which is one of the stats where anchors often shine. And like the major final, his clutching was very very much impactful in that. If
you want to talk about a player on the Mongols, Mazinho is listed as an anchor by Nero's like position database. Like I'm just looking through it now. Like he's listed as an anchor.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Mazinho is that good, particularly against top opposition. He drops off a bit too much.
It's
at least Techno is a consistent
0.12 above Techno.
Yeah, but Techno is at least a consistent point. Techno is at least a consistent 0.90. No, I wouldn't put Techno here. But yeah, it's just hard. Like I'm not overly sure who you would even put. Jimpat, I can understand. I think Jimpat's been invisible, but at least he's not been outright bad. He's worse than last year for sure. But I don't think he's been outright bad to the same degree that Bit has been at times, where there have been times this year when Bit has had Techno's average rating over the past 3 months. So that I can't really get behind. Me personally, I'd put Youngster in here, but like he's.
It's not a terrible pick, but he's just not got the numbers even to be in contention here. Like realistically, he's not actually got that great CT side, so
no,
it's rough.
I'm just gonna look at the numbers one more time. Is there a case for Magix? I feel like Magix has been better than Bit.
Excuse me?
This year, I feel like Magix has been a better anchor than Bit.
Am I the only one hearing this? Like, how is this garnering zero reaction from anyone? What the fuck are you talking about?
Am I wrong?
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
0.104 CT side. 0.104 CT side in big events.
0.104. You mean?
1.04.
Yeah. How much of that is his 0.5 DPR? Because he doesn't do anything.
All right, yeah, fair. No, okay, I guess maybe we've proven Bit is one of the top 5 anchors.
Thank you. Finally, someone reacts to that in chat. I'm like, I'm going crazy. How is there crickets? This man is on crack. Like, what is going on?
No, okay. Look, okay. Who has nominated? I have to find one because I feel like that just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Well, you feel like you have to have an anchor.
What would you say about Jota over Bit?
I don't even think that's valid. Like, sure, Bit has had a low floor at times, but he's not been that egregious. It's not that horrible. That Jota's 1.00 ass has to be above him. Like, Bit's year-long average is okay. Like, over the course of the year, he's been viable as an anchor. Even in the top sort of level of play.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a bit exaggerated. But no.
I just don't know, like, what the fuck is he doing here? I can't.
It feels wrong based on how Na'Vi have performed, but over the course of the year, Bit has probably been, in big events, in top-level play, probably one of the 5 best anchors. I do think Heavy God is an outside candidate. If G2 play enough top-level games, like if they actually don't shit the bed, if this rebuild goes as well as I hope it does, they actually make some deep runs, probably just a few top 8 finishes, maybe a top 4 here and there. Maybe they do have to rely on like the PGL kind of circuit to get their truly top placings. I think Heavy God's got a great case. He's got the lowest target rating of anyone in that top 5, the highest current rating. There's no doubt in our minds that Heavy God is a monster and that he outperforms his roles time and time again. If there's anyone who could have a case for it by the end of the year, you'd guess Heavy God. It's just currently, yes, we're talking about anchor of the year. Things like playing playoffs do matter. Heavy God, obviously, on G2 has not. Like, they've just not been that good a team.
I'd say one. I didn't think about him because I wasn't sure exactly about his roles, but I think Zontix. Magix is obviously not up there, but Zontix could be.
Zontix was in contention last year, of course, and well, this year I think he's taken
perhaps
a lot
more
deserved
last year.
He's not been as good as well. I think that's fair. He could end up in that conversation as well, especially if Spirit turn it around the way we think they will. But then again, the conversation with Spirit will be: we reach the end of the year. Now they've maybe, let's say they've picked up a couple big trophies that matter because the Zwei edition went so well. Zwei's an anchor. Zwei's going to take the majority of that credit. It's probably not going to be given to Zontix. They either split the vote between the two of them and neither one of them makes top 5. Or Zwei gets the credit.
Is probably going to be the biggest spanner in the works for a lot of this conversation, I think, with how the rest of the year shakes out. He's somebody who, depending on how things go, he could maybe be in the top 20 list at some point. I would say. I don't think that's too far away. Like, if things go very well for him, which I think he has the potential to do, then I think that's possible.
They'll need some EVPs. You'll need some deep runs. Obviously, it has to work. But if it does work, I can see it. It's not unrealistic. But I'm sure we'll talk more about Zwei when we get towards rookie conversations, especially in terms of projecting. But next award list, I think we've covered that enough. I guess IGL feels very cut and dry. It's very bang bang. Like, it's of course Apex #1. Like, it's not even like we have to rely on the fact that he's winning to make that case. We look at the way he's playing, in terms of his individual form, in terms of the way he's setting players up, in terms of the way he rotates, the way he does everything on the server. You can't call it anyone but Apex. You look at the way the team plays in terms of the mid-round adjustments they make, the like 3-man mid-swings that are so well coordinated and so well timed. And you're like, oh, this is outstanding calling. Plus, he's playing an amazing game himself. Add to that 7 straight trophies. You're like, who else but Apex, realistically?
No, there's just flat out nobody. It's kind of, look, a lot of the time the IGL and the coach and the team of the year awards are very much interconnected, obviously. Team of the year is probably the bigger achievement you can get if you are one of the better in-game leaders or coaches. It's the main achievement that you're probably contributing towards and working towards. But even if you remove that, I think it's hard to put anybody above Apex, because I think closest in contention might be Blitz, maybe.
I mean, if we're using the objective term that we seem to want to throw around for this conversation, Chopper has 2 trophies. Chopper has the highest win rates. But look,
like, if we're discounting trophies, because that's the only way I think you can remove Apex, like the only way you can even have a conversation about putting anybody above. Because as you say, objectively, Vitality are team of the year. The in-game leader makes that happen. And if we're removing trophies from it, then I think Blitz goes above Chopper. But it's still not even close to Apex. No matter either of those two, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's hard to see anyone approaching him. We do have to have an interesting conversation, though, as we get towards Coach of the Year in terms of, well, how can everyone get credit for everything? I mean, that was more of a problem last year when I was very frustrated that Na'Vi got so much credit despite not actually being that dominant and that rampant. It's like, wait, IGL of the Year, Coach of the Year, team of the year, multiple top 10, multiple top 20 players. How does this team like deserve all of this despite only having 4 or 5 trophies? Like, and as many group stage exits. Like, it didn't make as much sense. It's going to be quite tough to discount Apex and Xtaz both being currently number 1 for IGL and Coach, because not only do they have great players and they are themselves doing a good job, they're also literally winning everything. There's no if, ands, or buts. You're like, they're so dominant, they're gapping everyone. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
There's no quarrel from me. Like, that's just fair enough. But yeah, IGL of the year, second place. You're talking about Blitz. I think there's a case to make for Brolan. I don't think it's as compelling as Blitz's one, because Blitz, obviously, the reason Blitz and Mara are both going to get a lot of credit is because they're still working with incredibly young players. I mean, we'll ignore the fact that they had all of last year too, but they're still working with incredibly young players. It's very difficult to make that work. They're constantly reaching new heights as well. If they were still just kind of fringe top 8, like at most events, and if it's a top 6, they might make playoffs. You're like, oh, cool, that keeps them in this conversation, but it's not really building. We would be struggling, I think, to continuously give them Coach of the Year conversations, IGL of the Year conversation. But they made the major final. They made a massive leap in terms of their ability, their potency on stage that we just weren't expecting. Well, we kind of expected, but said at the same time that would be the defining struggle for them. Like, to make that leap is what brings them into the next stage of their careers. If they could never make that leap, obviously they'd stagnate, probably fall off. So Blitz remains in conversation. I just think Brolan, yeah, look, he's made so many top runs, playing in a very like mid-round heavy style. How much input he gets from other players in terms of, especially like, Torji dictating how CT sides start, the T side like adjustments, maybe in terms of ideas, you might get a lot out of Zersh and Spinks. But I think mostly we have to give him the credit and just say those guys execute. They just execute very well. So I think Brolan does deserve to be in the conversation as well. It's just, all in all, feels pointless, feels redundant. It's just Apex.
Objectively, I think Brolan has to be up there because of the facts, but I think subjectively we hear a lot about how other players on the team carry a lot of the responsibility as well. And that sort of takes a bit away from it from me. It's like hearing the level of input that Zershan has in outright calling a lot of the time, and obviously Torji as the operator is always going to bring a lot of input, but like it does sound like Brolan has a lot of help in that role. And look, all right, it works, and if that's a setup which works optimally for Mouse, then that's obviously the way they should play, and it's still credit to Brolan. But if we're talking about in-game leader of the year, I feel like that's sort of it's like there are teams where we hear that the in-game leader gets a lot of help. We've recently heard about Snacks, where Hunter and Monacy have been lifting a lot of the calling load recently, and Snacks obviously not in the in-game leader of the year conversation, but he's but it's the same sort of thing where you have teams which definitely the in-game leader doesn't lifts a different amount of load on different teams. But objectively, with the facts, then I think Brolan, Mouse play a great game. The difficulty really is, as you say, you have to give credit to everybody. Like, that's the difficulty in judging this. How much of that is Cyclone? How much of that is Brolan? Past history might say it's a lot of Cyclone, because it seems like Mouse are doing well both with Shui and Brolan, and the common denominator is Cyclone. So you might think a lot of it is Cyclone. You could also say a lot of it is Brolan, because the team improved with Brolan over Shui, and Shui was already considered a very good in-game leader. So, but that's also a lot of conjecture between past history, different lineups. They also had a firepower upgrade with that change. So, and it's obviously 2 different years with 2 different sets of opposition. Like, it's very difficult to compare. And again, I don't really think past years should be all that relevant, because that's when you end up with stuff like Bit being here because historically he's been good.
Well, he's also been good this year. I'm sorry, I just need to keep that. He's been good enough to be in the anchor of the year conversation. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I looked at it after we finished talking about this, but Zontix has a 1.12 CT rating at a 1.02 target, while Bit is sitting at a 1.02 CT rating at a 1.0 target. Like, Zontix clears him by 0.10. it's not that great. That's last 12. I will say that's last 12, but this year has not been better than the second half of last year for a bit. So it's, anyway, that's besides the point. We're talking about in-game leaders.
Bit sidetracked, but yeah.
Bit sidetracked. I did just find it afterwards, but yeah, it's it's Apex, and I'm just interested. Do you think there's an argument for Kixen is a guy we haven't touched upon, and I think Kixen is quite firmly number 5 on this list. He's received a lot of praise. When Falcons have been playing good, Kixen in particular has been a lot of the focal point of that, I think. But do you think there's an argument for anybody else to take Kixen's spot there for this year so far?
As far as IGL of the year,
I'd give some credit to Major. Like, I think Aurora, with the consistency they've had, and they've been approaching the top 5, I think Major has a case.
Yeah, that's the problem. I've watched the Counter-Strike, so I can't really do that.
Yes, it's a very simplistic style. I made a lot of fun of this when they played Vitality and Blast Bounty. I was having so much fun, basically live tweeting this game where Major would just called 7 straight B rushes, and I just thought it was so funny. And I was like live tweeting it. Like, they took a timeout. Okay, so in the last round they rushed B. They're now on an eco. They took a timeout. I'm gonna predict for the next 2 rounds they also rush B, and they did. And the thing is, they won both those rounds. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's a simple strat. But if the guys you have shooting people shoot people good, it can work. It can always work.
Yeah. I don't think Kerrigan has the case. I think FaZe are way too in the dumps to make that argument.
No, as far as what's currently been played, no, there's no real. I don't think there's anyone who can really take his spot.
Yeah.
In terms of by the end of the year, who could take his spot? Well, there's some teams to look at, but or some callers to look at, but it's not cut and dry.
Somebody who could take his spot in that top 5 at the end of the year is Hooksy.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was going to talk about. If Astralis play well or keep playing the way they played with Hooksy, they'll probably climb the rankings a bit. He'll get some credit. There's a good chance he ends up in that conversation. But again, teams like, honestly, if the Furia form we've seen continues, they might get some credit. But look, realistically, Falcons, they're adding Kyosuke. I doubt they get much worse. They're probably going to still have more top placings than all those guys. And as much as you can be like, outside looking in, not as part of the panel talking about how Kixan has Nico, Monesi, and then Kyosuke. You're like, how does he not fucking win things? That doesn't factor into the HLTV's decision, where it's like...
No, unfortunately not. That's how G2 ended up above Spirit last year in the Team of the Year conversation. They did. Yes.
No,
yes.
but I mean,
G2.
What does that got to do with IGL of the year? Team of the year, of course, Team of the year doesn't matter if who your team is. Like, you're just Team of the Year. Like,
well, I think the argument we had there was G2. How were G2 above Spirit when they had Nico, Monesi, fucking mobs, and towards the end, like the argument was they are this good. How the fuck are they not winning anything and they're still above the major champions? I think that was the discussion we had. So, besides the point, but it's like that when you have all of these pieces, how does that not displace the lack of achievement? So,
yeah, but they will rack up
the
placements, so they'll end up. I think they will end up above those guys anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, there might be a HLTV objective case for major by the end of the year, and they might try to make that. But I've watched the.
Well, again,
I can't make that case in good conscience.
I don't really like the fact. I think if you're only being objective about everything, and you say, well, we don't know what's going on, like we don't know who's making the calls in teams, we don't know who gets credit for what. We don't have that insight into the teams. Then the Coach and IGL of the Year awards are always going to be Team of the Year awards, bar a very weird year. So that's why I don't really like that Coach and IGL of the Year are as subjective as we perceive them to be. I think it should be more that, subjectively, when you watch the games, who do you think is the better caller? Do you think Apex is the better caller, or do you think Major is the better caller, or do you think Alexi B? Then you could even throw in some absolutely crazy picks. You could say Maka. Like, if one of the panelists think that Maka is playing the best tactical Counter-Strike at the moment, you could throw Maka into the conversation. That's what I would prefer for these kind of awards. I don't think that would ever happen. I think most of the panelists are going to say Apex is the best. And I think if you watch the games, you're going to find Apex is the best. But, that's what I prefer for that conversation. And if you're talking about coaches, then you also have to consider the scouting. You have to consider how they speak in interviews. You have to consider what their teammates say about them. And that's better than just saying this guy won the most. This guy had the best round win statistic. This guy had the best, whatever. I don't really like the fact where it ends up being so objective, where you have to look at the trophies, you have to look at the statistics. I want it to be more subjective, and I want it to be more like, I like what Mara has done with 5 players who were relatively inexperienced. I like what Ash has done with 5 players who probably were sort of out for the count. Maybe towards the end of the year we'll say something similar about Tobis. Like, maybe Heroic end up being very good, and Tobis gets a lot of credit for developing Grix. You could say, honestly, like, yeah, it's that's something I would like. And if you think the focal point of a team's impact is on the coach of the IGL, that's what you should vote for, rather than they did this good and therefore I feel like that should be different from that, because otherwise you're just ending up with 3 awards being
that
the
are
same
exactly
award,
the same,
which is a bit
to
stupid.
discuss. Which, yes, I agree with what Yumi put in chat. Basically, that was the case we made last year, talking about Mara, talking about Ash, talking about what the fuck is Taz doing here in the initial nominees. Like, there were coaches who, to our eye, to what we saw actually happening to these teams, deserved more credit. But then at the end of the year, you're like, even if we apply all that, if Vitality have won 10 fucking big events, and last year they won, 2? How do you not give the coach in IGL something? Like, do we really give all of that to Rops? That's the hard part for me. And that's why we'll probably have more conversations about who the nominees and who the shortlisted coaches in IGLs are, rather than who is number 1, because that's going to be incredibly difficult to take away from Vitality, especially at the halfway point where they've just won 7 straight events. Like, it's kind of hard to then go, yeah, they didn't make it. They didn't do enough. They didn't change enough. They didn't get better. Like, they fucking really did, didn't they? Like, and then maintain that shit the entire time.
Yeah.
But no, that is going to be one of the conversations we're having later. We are going to be talking about Coach of the Year. We haven't reached that point. It just came up on a side note.
Yeah.
Opener of the Year. How is it not Donk? Is the better question. How is it not Donk? Like, someone please try and make the case. It's quite hard to envision.
I think out of the awards where you have Vitality players in contention, I think this is the one where maybe it's the closest out. Like, it's the closest outside of the obvious candidate, because I think Flamesy has been very good, and Donk is still obviously clears him. Like, Donk clears everybody at this point in pure numbers and in pure.
Just looking at, sorry, just a side note, just to interrupt. I'm looking at Nero's database, just looking at openers, just out of curiosity. And there's just a bunch of players, because I've sorted it by target rating. There's a bunch of players with higher target ratings than Donk, then a lot with lower, especially on the T side. Then you just look at the bars where it shows his actual performance. And it's just a bunch of little things.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation, is it?
It's not much of a conversation. No, it's going to be Donk. But I do think out of all of these, realistically, what the voting is going to look like, I do think the points gap between the number 1 and the number 2 might be the smallest for all of these. And I think Flamesy might be the number 2. Or Nico, depending on how Falcons rest of the year checks out. Because Nico's also up there numbers-wise. It's just Flamesy's winning everything, and Nico is not. It's pretty crazy. Like, it's pretty crazy stuff. B-Trams is very much trying to, and I think it perfectly fits, is trying to nickname Donk as the outlier, because he is the outlier. Every single statistic that exists, Donk is the outlier.
It's what makes what we're going to get to at the end with Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Actually a conversation, not one that I find that compelling right now, but that could get really crazy. Because yes, in terms of numbers, I've said it before, Donk has put up fragging numbers we literally haven't seen since Get Right 2012. Like, Get Right 2012, the limited, because even back then, not every single event is actually on HLTV, including, as we discovered, the event that started the 87-0 streak, Steel Series Go, actually isn't on HLTV. But like, even with that taken out, it's a ridiculous, like, just fragging output. That level hasn't been seen since back then. And like, even that was half a year, 1,400 rounds, I think. Donk has already surpassed that in half a year. He's up at like 1,800, and he's still putting that output out. So yeah, in terms of opener of the year, he also has the highest opening KPR of everyone nominated. So it's not like you can make a technical case of, actually, he's doing more trading than these guys. These guys are opening more often. It's like, can't even say it. We can't even really say it.
No.
He's doing it at the highest volume and then also just doing it the best. I wish I could like have one of those years where I'm talking about Nico again, being like, wow, he keeps extending his prime. Could he be opener of the year? Nah, he just can't. He just can't. The fact that he's still here and probably in contention for 2 or 3, brilliant. But the conversation for number 1 is dead and buried.
What is pretty crazy about Donk is, we might touch on this more in Player of the Year. Last year, he got Player of the Year with the best statistical year anybody has ever had individually, in most metrics, and he's improved this year. But right now he's not in the lead for play. Like, he's improved by a significant margin in 2025 over 2024 so far. Yeah. But right now he's still probably not number 1 in terms of likelihood at getting Player of the Year. Like, well, probably he's not. He isn't. That's insane. Like, all DPR, cast, impact, ADR, KPR, like the 5 basic HLTV statistics on the stats page. All 5 of them have improved in 25 over last year. And he's not number 1, like. But Jesus, no. The opening. If we're talking about the opening alone, he's improved there as well. He's better than last year. But he's a crazy player, and nobody's touching him. I do still think that there's a conversation for Flamesy and Nico to be closer than maybe Shiro or Manisi are to ZywOo, or to be closer than fucking anybody is to Mezzy. Like, I think that gap might be smaller for opener of the year.
If it is, then everyone voting is an idiot. I'm sorry. He should get every single number 1 vote without any conversation. In those other ones, you can have a conversation. Like Orper of the Year, fucking hell, ZywOo might be 2. In terms of Anchor of the Year, I think a lot of people will get votes over Mezzy. There is no planet where anyone who's been awarded a vote should place that number 1 anywhere but Donk for opener of the year. Anyone who does should be put back on the short bus and sent back to schools. Clearly, something they've missed, be it numbers, letters, I don't know, but they've missed something at school. Like, go refresh your memory, how to read, because this just isn't possible.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are just going to forget about Donk. I think a lot of people might just... No, because he's such a big outlier. A lot of people might think, opener, all right, Flamesy's up there, Nico's up there. You don't even really think about Donk as... I think some people don't even really think about Donk as an opener, even if he obviously
boo
is.
This
but
man. Boo this man. Someone boo this man.
I'm dead serious. I think people might just slip and they just put something down and send it in 5 minutes. But no, he's gonna win it.
How the hell do you forget Donk?
Because he's the outlier. He's the outlier. When you make graphs like statistics, scatter plots, you remove Donk because he's way too big of an outlier to be part of any worthwhile discussion about how Counter-Strike players play. I'm not it's and I think the thing about the crazy thing about Flamesy and Nico, any pre-Donk year, Flamesy and Nico have both put up numbers to be top 2, maybe top 3 in terms of the opening stat. 100%.
Yeah, but we don't live in BD.
That's the crazy
not before Donk. We are in the year of our Lord, and he is absolutely wrecking everyone, and he's doing it as an opener. I mean,
we'll see. We'll see. I just sort of feel like maybe, but no, it's gonna be Donk, 100%. But yeah,
absurd. Just absolutely absurd that there would be a conversation. But right, that brings closer of the year. Because look,
this one is interesting.
Closer's interesting. It's going the way it feels like, heavily favoured, probably fairly so as well, towards Rops.
Yep.
Rops is... Well, he's having a fantastic year, isn't he? Like, realistically, the case you can make, just based off what they've put on this graphic, is like, hey, more clutch points for Frozen, and Frozen's had a good year, but it does really feel like this has been a great Rops season, like one of his best years so far. He's just not as separated from the pack as, say, Donk is in the opening discussion. He's certainly been excellent. He's deserved all his EVPs. But I do think there's more of a conversation to have with players like Frozen. Probably with the way Spinks has played at times, has entered that sort of conversation. Wicardia Teslas are there because we need 5. But those 3 have all had pretty strong seasons. It just has to be Rops 1. I just think the conversation for 2, 3, how close they are to him, I think it's a bit more nuanced.
Yeah. I think Rops is there for sure. And he's going to be the winner, the way it's looking right now. It's hard for me. I'm not sure how to rate Frozen, really. Because a lot of the time we talk about how Frozen is also kind of rating farming. Like he plays a playstyle which is a bit baity. It's really a lot of the time.
Closer of the year plays a bit of a baity style.
Well, no, yeah, but like a lot of the time it is maybe not as impactful in the closing role as some other players are. Like a lot of the time the number which says 115 rating isn't actually all that impactful as a different 115 closer. But that's in previous years. This year I think he's been there. I think he's been one of the easily the best player on FaZe, I think. All things considered, because when Elige disappears, Frozen really doesn't to the same degree. And yeah, Brokey Rain, whatever.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Brokey Rain, whatever.
Yeah. Testis, I'm not even sure if he should be here just to fill out 5. I'm not even sure because he, first of all, just as a fun thing, Nero doesn't even classify him as a closer. He's a support, but we don't have the category, so I guess that's why he's here. No, I'm not. I'm just not. No. Spinks probably also has a strong argument so far for Mouse. He's been really good for Mouse. I think he's improved on Mouse compared to what he did last year on Vitality. So it's marginal maybe, but I think he's better. He's maybe in slightly
it's
more
a
favor.
case you can make with the eye test more than you can with the numbers, if I'm not going crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like this year Mouse's numbers overall have just dipped just because they've played a lot of big series that they've done the classic win close, lose big in every map. And that's just kind of dented all their playoff numbers. It's dented all their versus top X numbers to a certain extent. And I think Spinks might be suffering from that relative to last year where he was on Vitality and they didn't quite have the same scenarios play out. But yeah, the case with Spinks is it's brilliant when you watch the games and you see him like, you know, bang out a triple kill to win a round and you're like, how did he hit those shots? It's rather compelling.
Yeah. The way it's looking is going to be Rops. I don't really see a lot changing that, the way Rops hit the ground running with Vitality and the way he himself, out of the server a lot, he improves the team, but also in the server. He's a very impactful player. And I don't really see that changing. Rops is very much I feel like he's very much a constant player. He doesn't have big inconsistencies. And even if things start going awry for Vitality, I don't think Rops himself might tank that much. So for me, he's still the number 1, and we're gonna need to see something really good out of FaZe or Mouse to topple him. I don't see. I could maybe put Zontix in here over Wicardia or Tessus, maybe, but I don't see Zontix pipping him for number 1 no matter how the fall season goes. It's gonna have to be another Vitality-esque season out of Spirit to make that happen. And the rest of the guys here, like who might be up for consideration, are kind of just not there. So
yeah, If I have to really be like as devil's advocate as possible, let's say I'm in the HLTV forums. I'm fighting for my life. I'm trying to I'm swinging like haymaker after haymaker, just trying to make it so that Rops is number 2. I have to dig into like some stats where I'm like, clutching wise, better clutch rate for Frozen. Firepower wise, better kills per round win, better damage per round win. Like maybe I can make the case that Rops has it easy. That's maybe where I can make a case from. But again, when you watch the games, it doesn't really feel. Doesn't feel like Rops is some like just guy getting dragged along by Vitality. Just like, oh yeah, we also got this guy who gets a free 0.75 KPR. Like, no, he's obviously highly impactful, critical to their players.
Yeah.
Just, if I have to dig through the stats, if I'm desperately trying to make that case, I can maybe point to a couple little numbers, but overall, it feels like Rops is number 1, and it's
But the only two people who could dethrone him are probably Frozen and Spinks. There's a couple of players I think could make it onto the candidates list who aren't there right now. Like the way
Yeah.
the year shakes out, maybe there could be an argument for heavy god. But again, they don't like nominating players for two
Yeah, if
categories.
he's
And
anchor,
he's
he
already
probably
an
won't
anchor of
get.
the year.
He won't get closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Messi obviously probably should be in the closer category if he wasn't in the anchor category. But yeah,
That goes both ways
where
for
they
him
put
and
him.
Rops, doesn't it? Like that's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they've done the right match. Like Rops is more of a closer, for Messi's more of an anchor. I wouldn't have it the other way around. Other than that, I don't really see a lot of players. Like maybe if the year ends up being really good for Astralis with Hooksy, then maybe Stown or Yabi could make it on it. But that's a fucking huge outside chance.
Lord, if
because they're not-
Yabi can make it,
they
after
are
the
not
year
doing
he's had
good.
so far.
Yeah, no, no. And I don't think there's anybody else. Like I don't think we're gonna see that sort of level out of Fury for Caserado to make it in there. I don't think we're gonna see it from Heroic for Youngster or Tenier to make it in.
Yeah, if
Especially
Tenier
not
can
Youngster.
play like a
Well,
3 or
there's
4
role
big
considerations
events
there
where they
because
make playoffs and he's playing super well, he can definitely join the top 5. But
There's an awkward role consideration there because Tenier might shift the degree to which he's closing and the degree to which he's opening.
true. There's always that to
With how
consider,
this team is changing, yeah. No, it's Rops, and maybe we can see pipped by Spinks come the end of the year if Mouse elevate themselves. But look, every time we're talking about who could dethrone the Vitality player, I think it all predicates on the fact that Vitality get worse, which is
It's
at
hard
the
to
moment we're
imagine,
talking
but they
about.
literally
Yeah,
they can't really get better. They can stay the same or get worse. And
Yeah.
with everyone else leveling up to a certain extent, you have to assume worse.
I still think you need significantly worse. That's the thing. Over the year as a whole, I don't mean you just have to have somebody else beat them in a grand final. I'm talking about Vitality need to get significantly worse. I'm talking about the fact that where they don't win more than half of the fall season big events. That's the sort of drop off I feel like we need out of Vitality for Messi to get pipped, or at this point for Rops to get pipped.
Right.
It's not just about like they win another 4 events, but they lost IEM Rio to Spirit. That's not the sort of level I'm talking about. I'm talking about a huge drop off and a step up from the particular player who needs to beat them. Like that's the big drop off we're talking about here, in my opinion. So it's
Yeah,
gonna
but that
be
gap in the closer of the
hard.
year conversation and the anchor of the year conversation isn't as wide as a bunch of other
Yeah,
kits,
no,
right? Like
yeah.
that's not that big a gap. That's not that big a leap. But yeah, we come into now what will be. I'm sure it's a coin flip between this and another one in terms of the most controversial conversation we will have, and that's Orpra of the year.
Do you
Because
have
can a hybrid
non-ZywOo
win
player?
Orpra of the year?
Yeah.
I kind of like Shira for the award of just Orpra of the year. I kind of like Shira for it. Just because he AWPs. And he's AWPed at an incredibly high level this year. Like, we kind of have to give him his flowers. He's increased his output. At times, he's had events where he's even increased his aggression. And he's actually using the AWP. ZywOo,
Yep.
player of the year? Probably. Like, there's almost... We've laid out some criteria where it could change. But, like, he's just rifling so much that I kind of find it strange to give him the Orpra of the year, specifically. Because that feels wrong,
Yep.
right? It's like giving a player right back of the year when he spent 40 to 50% of the season playing right wing, and we're like at the end of it, like, did he really play right back? Like, is it actually what he was, or was he just a right-sided player who happened to sometimes defend? Like, it's kind of like that with ZywOo. He's just a great player who happens to sometimes AWP.
Yeah, his AWP KPR is thankfully not below any riflers so far.
No, we don't have hybrids to the same extent we used to in like 2015 because,
Yeah.
for example, I remember I was watching some old games from back in the 2014-2015 era, and like the amount of AWP kills Olaf gets, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of sat there going, maybe actually this guy could have a better AWP KPR than ZywOo does now. Back when hybrid AWPs, second AWPs was so prevalent. But no, that's not the meta.
Yeah.
As much as the Mongols have tried to kickstart it, it's just not the thing.
No, yes, Zenzu is, at the moment at big events, Sensu is the rifler with the joint most AWP KPR this year. Next to Cadian. Aside from Fallen, who spent the first half of, or the first quarter of this year hopping.
Yeah.
But thankfully he has now dropped behind ZywOo in AWP KPR over the year as a whole. but yeah, like it's kind of questioning what is an opper, and I think looking at the numbers, there's still players who I would definitely consider to be oppers who are behind ZywOo and op KPR, Hold, Cirque, and Maka, namely. I would consider both are definitely oppers, but they're actually behind ZywOo and op KPR.
Yeah, you have to give the credit of those guys being not on top teams, constantly losing, literally can't buy an op. Like,
Yeah,
there's that factor
literally
as
can't.
well.
Yeah, there's that factor, but there's also like this is a KPR. This is not measuring usage. Somebody who's very high in op KPR is hyped, but he is not getting a lot of frags. Like a lot of the time, you see not particularly good oppers or not particularly good players be very high in op KPR because that's the only gun they can frag with.
So yeah, the number in buy versus buy rounds where ZywOo has an op is 48%.
48%. And if you contrast that to say Holzerk,
Holzerk,
who's behind him, just as a measure for how much this might change.
Why would I want Halley? Stupid thing. Holzerk's 61.
Yeah, so there's
Compared
a
to
big
48.
contrast there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah. It's a difficult discussion. It's a very difficult discussion. But yeah, I think for the moment, it's difficult to put somebody above him on Opera of the Year in terms of how they perform with the op. I think maybe it's forcing a meta shift where when you're considering this role, you might need to consider like buy types, and you might need to consider look at buy rounds where it's likely he has an op. How does he perform in buy rounds in particular, where it's very likely he has an op? So rather than looking at maybe as in previous years, you might just have said this guy's an opper, he's obviously using the op most of the time, and he plays very good. You might need to have a more nuanced discussion for this year to pick the proper proper opera of the year.
Yeah.
But
here's why Shiro, for example, is a good pick. Because Shiro uses the AWP in almost 70% of buy rounds. And their HLTV rating 2.0 estimate that Skybox Edge gives is 1.39 for ZywOo to 1.37 for Shiro. Like, they're both elite AWPers of insanely good, like, insanely high impact on the AWP. It's just one uses it far more. And so for AWPer of the year, kind of like, well, isn't the guy who just always AWPs therefore the better pick? Like that's the kind of that's the difficulty of this. Obviously, ZywOo better pistol round player, better rifle player, and uses the rifle a shit ton. There are factors that will make him a better player overall. Just difficult for me to also give him credit for being specifically the best AWPer.
Yeah, it's a semantics thing. Are you picking the best player who's an AWPer, or are you picking the best AWPer? And that's up to HLTV to decide how they want to interpret it. I assume it's going to be ZywOo. But it is definitely, there's nuance here, and there's potential for controversy depending on how things swing here. Munizzy, Torshi, Shiro, all probably have an argument to be close to ZywOo. If not, maybe. Yeah, but they probably have an argument to be close in pure opping play. Maybe a couple of them could even be ahead. But it's also so dependent on different styles. Unlike any of the other roles where you can broadly say this guy's an opper, this guy's closer, they might play different responsibilities, but it's mostly in the same vein. Opper is such a team by team different kind of role where it ends up being very difficult to pick. So because like you wouldn't be able to swap ZywOo and Shiro and get the same results and claim that Shiro is the best opper or that ZywOo is a better opper. It matters with team playstyle, and we've talked about this as well with like how different teams play and how they use their opper. So this is crazy. This is a crazy nuanced discussion. I'll say ZywOo's number one for this, because I still think like op KPR is the number I have, and because I don't have the Skybox Edge to look at buy types, and he's still around some oppers who I would consider to be decent. Like he's still around.
He's just not in touching distance of the rest of the AWPer of the years. Is the problem?
No, that's the thing. He's still around like some half decent offers. Like I'll say this year, Wonderful has been decent. He's been decent, and he has a similar op KPR. He's also very good on the
Famously
rifle. So that
performed
also
on the rifles a lot.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But he's still here as an opper, and like then of course it's a lot of bumps. It's Slend. It's
That's your comp.
those
I
kind
mean,
of players are also
famously,
here.
I put out a tweet. If you take ZywOo's AWP kills entirely away, every single AWP kill he had at one point, but it wasn't that long ago, away, he still has a KPR above Slend's. Like if you just remove every single AWP kill he has this year. So yes, he is surrounded by some real bums in that conversation. Yes.
Yeah, but if we're looking at past years as well, he would still be like with the AWP numbers he has now. He would still be around some other players who are pretty decent operas. Like you're looking at last year, you would be looking at Brokey. He was playing quite well last year, or for part of last year anyway. He was playing quite well, and he had a similar AWP KPR at that point. So, for this year, yeah, it's such a weird thing. It is such a weird thing, but it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be very weird.
Yeah, I think we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think there's a very high likelihood that ZywOo ends up winning AWPer of the Year anyway, despite my innumerous protests. But that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Really. I might get a good video out of it. Like, I don't care.
Pure semantics. If you're picking a player of the year all round, and if you're picking an opera of the year, ZywOo should be player of the year, and somebody else should be opera of the year. But I also can't really say that, like, if we're talking about only opping rounds and only opping play, ZywOo still plays the op well. That's the thing.
He does.
He uses it less often. But as you said, he still uses it 48% of the time. So
in full buys. In full buys only. He's not using it outside of full buys particularly often. And in full buys, it's not like he's gapping anyone. Like he's below Monacy in rating. He's about the same as Shiro. He's above Torji. But he's not defining himself this year by his AWP.
No.
It's rifle play as well as his AWP play. And honestly, his rifle versatility is what's going to get like kind of overlooked by this decision. Because on rifles, he's done everything. And that's kind of been a part of their success, the part of the reason they've been so good. But no, that's going to be interesting to see how everyone else votes. I know where I'd go with it. Let's move on. Rookie of the Year. Now, this is what we spent about an hour bickering about prior to the show in terms of what should matter for Rookie of the Year. Because you started giving me lots of waffle about number of times they played against good opponents, how many times they've gone on deep runs. How about, that doesn't matter if they're a bum in all that fucking time. If they're playing good teams, it shouldn't matter. My case is very simply, the best rookie should win. And there's very little I consider important when it comes to evaluating rookies as far as how many times they got dragged to a playoff by Xantares. Jota. So, this is a part where I'd like you to explain yourself. I'd also be curious to see what certain people think about this, because the nominations kind of go all over the place. We have Icy, the most criminal of players on here in terms of this is a dire rookie class, to players like PR and Tanir, who don't have that many big event reps. I mean, PR is more than Tanir, but Tanir, they're purely against top 10 teams, and he smashed them. And then Molodoy, who has been given a very generous 1.21 rating by HLTV for some reason, because that includes his entire AmCal stint this year. But all in all, I think for me, Rookie of the Year, it is a two-horse race currently. I think it is Molodoy Tanir. And my third pick is PR. After that, we can talk about Jota and Icy. It's kind of how I see it, because I think how well you've played should be the most important thing. And for me, those guys are the best rookies.
So, good people of Detroit. There are not a lot of rookies this year, and I think that's Dave Chappelle. Whatever. That's I don't know why I opened with that. It's a thing, Dave Chappelle, when he had that thing where like people booed him on stage, and he goes, "Good people of Detroit, you are never getting your fucking money back." Like, it's that old clip. I don't know why. Anyway, I just thought about it. We don't have a lot of rookies this year, and I think that's normal. Normally, the winter shuffle is the one where all the big established players have their contracts ending, and that's where you get a lot of roster movements. That's where you get a lot of changes. While in the summer shuffle, you usually get more rookies, because that's the time when a lot of players are already locked up in multi-year contracts, and you have to buy players from tier 2 to sort of make something happen here. So I think I'm not I don't have data on this, but I just get the feeling that you get more rookies in the second half of the season than you get in the first half of the season. But I went through the list of players who have played top 20 versus top 20 games, because that's mostly tier 1 teams or teams who have appeared at least 2 big events this year, be it play-ins or the main stage. And we don't have a huge amount of rookies. There's not a huge amount of rookies to speak of here. You're looking at maybe between 15 and 20 players who could reasonably be considered rookies. And yeah, if we're going top of the list to the bottom of the list, the way I've gone through this, there's a couple of players that you could look at. Hang on, I just have to drop the map cap just a little bit. I'm thinking map cap at 30. Tenier is up there. He's the first one on the rating list with a 115 in 44 maps, top 20 to top 20. I will note, only 12 of those are at big events. And that's less than all of the Odic players, all of the NIP players. Like, it's only 2 more than Apogee had when they played that one event. So I think the map cap matters. Otherwise, you could make the argument Zacher was last year's Rookie of the Year because he was so good in the major in the 8 maps he played. Like, I think there has to be a consideration for map count. I think there has to be a consideration for opposition. To his credit, all of Tenier's big event maps were against top 10 teams. That is to his credit. It's still a very small sample size. It's hard to make an argument here, in my opinion.
So we're just going to use big event maps specifically as well. That's the other part. Because Zacher played China and the major. That's an absurd comparison to Tenier's year, which has been, firstly, there's been other lands, there's been play-in-play, and there's been big event play. We're not blind, we're not stupid. We've seen more of Tenier than we did of Zacher last year, to use that counterexample. Yes. Like, it's absurd to just say he played 12 big event maps, and then I guess he disappeared from anyone's understanding. When realistically, he played a bunch of teams in non-big event maps, event games, who are teams who've played in big events. It's just they are usually the bums everyone else farms off of. And that was kind of my point. Like, does he not get credit? Stage 1, Stage 2 of the major, he plays the same sort of bums that everyone else gets to play in the group stage of their big events. Shits on them. Do we not also use that to build up the story of his year? Not just, the 12 big event maps. That's all we're allowed to use? Like, there's much more to it. So we all know Tenier is the best rookie this year. Like, I'm sorry, anyone who doesn't think that, you're trying to make, I don't know, gold out of horse shit. Like, you're just trying to force something out here that just doesn't make any sense.
It feels strange. Tenier is up there. He's definitely, I think he is in the top 2 conversation. I'm not really coming around to putting him definitively as Rookie of the Year, because it is a small sample size. And yeah, it's good. I think the biggest factor in favor of him is the several games he played against Aurora / Eternal Fire, because he's played 3 best of 3s against them, and he's been excellent in all 3 of them. Great. He's only beaten them once out of those 3 games, but he's done it. He's also played big a bunch of times, and he was good there. That doesn't move the needle for me. He's also played 3D Max. Doesn't really move the needle for me, especially when he's not being that hot against 3D Max a couple of these times. Like, 3D Max he's played them 3 times. He was sub 1.0 in one of them, in one of the best of 3s. He was a bum on one of the maps, at 0.85, which they lost. In the end, they lost the series as well. He couldn't do anything on the 3rd map. And he's beaten them once. Again, they lost one of the maps. The map they lost, Tenier was doing nothing. He's played Liquid a bunch of times. They played really well. That's good. Very good. He's played Astralis. He's played Saw. It is sort of just the fact that when he's doing this, right, and you have to compare him to the very few rookies we've had at a top level, and if I'm extrapolating for the whole year, in the end, we're going to have to compare him to Zwei, who's going to be playing playoff games against Vitality and Mouse, and we don't know how he's going to perform, but let's say he performs what we would consider to be on par, maybe slightly above on par, a 1.0 something for Zwei. When Zwei is banging in playoff maps against the best teams in the world, Tenier has never touched a top 5 team this year so far. Aside from Aurora, but
aside from the one he did play,
aside from them, but I'd even say that's maybe, were they really here and there?
Cool.
They're
definitely
in the
rewrite that one.
Top 5.
Sick, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
When they've never played like, if Tenier ends this year still barely having played a team which is capable of winning a big event, a Vitality, at the moment, a Vitality, a Mouse, a Spirit, the championship level teams we have right now. If Tenier ends this year barely having touched those teams, while Zwei has banged in, let's say, 25 maps against that very same opposition, even if Tenier is 0.1 clear of him, I'd still take Zwei for Rookie of the Year, because it's the deep end versus the shallow end of the pool. That's, to me, that's more impressive. Tenier is really good so far. Yeah, he might make number one. I'd say his closest opposition is Molodoy, also with a low sample size, and also doesn't really touch those teams. If we're next best in that regard might be, if we're looking at level of opposition, might be Jota. Jota isn't doing much against those teams. He's just there, and he's decently fulfilling his
pulse.
job.
That's that's what Jota's got going for him. His pulse is still there. He hasn't been sick, dead, or stuck with visa problems. So technically he gets credit for attending the fucking matches. What are we talking about?
He's possibly fulfilling his job. That's the thing. Is Jota a liability for Aurora?
I'll give me Employee of the fucking year because I signed into teams every other month. Like, what are we talking about?
Is Jota
the play should
making
matter.
Aurora? Is Jota making Aurora worse? Is he? No, he's fulfilling his job.
You probably could say that. You're arguing he might be. There's nothing to say he's making them better. He's been shit. Let's be real. Over the course of the entire year, he's been pretty shit. Right. He's had a couple good events where we thought, maybe. But honestly, over the course of the entire rookie season he's had, he's been basically shit. So how can we then go, he gets credit for attending the matches against good teams, when Tenier, fighting tooth and nail, doesn't get to because he's playing with a bunch of rookies and an old Spaniard? Like, why does he not get any credit? Like, it's so dumb, in my eyes, to give a guy credit for attending matches as Rookie of the Year. Like, just because you got drafted to the best team in the league doesn't make you the Rookie of the Year in any other division, like any other sport. But the guy who's been drafted to bumfucks and tries to carry them and actually does something impressive does. That makes perfect sense. Is Heavy God a rookie? I don't think he's valid. He would be a great pick, but I don't think he's been validated as a rookie. So,
well, hang on. Wait.
If he was, we'd have a conversation, but I don't think he has been, because he's been playing.
He's a rookie.
Really well.
He is a rookie. He's got to be a rookie. Cloud9 played fuck all. OG played fuck all.
You've got to fight with HLTV on that one.
Heavy God has to be a rookie. 0 big events in 24. 0. On LAN, they played the major challenger stage and got knocked out in 24. And OG played literally nothing. Also, the Copenhagen major RMR. And Blast groups. He played twice. Heavy God should be a 25 rookie.
Maybe. But HLTV doesn't have him here, otherwise he'd definitely be on this list over a player like Icy. Icy would not be on this list if they considered Heavy God a rookie. I'm sorry. Unless they have gone blind, deaf, and dumb, there's no way. There's no way Heavy God wouldn't be on the list.
This has thrown... Look, okay, if there's one player I can definitely put above... Just double check the numbers, I have to check this. If there's one player I can definitely put above Molodoy, at least, in this discussion, for Rookie of the Year, with this new information presented to the court, it's Heavy God.
I would maybe make the case probably number one contention if we're talking about this year. If this is just his year, like, it probably could get that sort of conversation. Now, we'll ignore the fact that he's not been that good against top opposition. We'll ignore that because it's convenient. But at least he played them, right? At least he played them.
Yeah.
That's what matters, right, guys? He played against them. It doesn't matter that he was shit. If he plays against them, he gets credit for it. Love it.
Still been in playoffs a couple of times.
Remember, the boxer that's 0-25 against 25 great boxers is objectively better than the guy who's 20-1, has fought 2 top boxers. But then, of course, he lost to 1, beat 1, but he's only played 2, so guess he's a fucking bum. This is an absurd
at least he's played well.
He's played
well in a grand final against Falcons, and he's played Mouse, which you cannot say for Tenier. Like, He's
getting credit for being on the right team. He's not getting credit for his
that
play.
one. The Falcons grand final, they lost it, but Heavy God was good. He was a 117 in that grand final. That's what pips Heavy God over Tenier for me for Rookie of the Year.
All right, I never want to hear another word from you about sample size, though. Not read another fucking word. If that's all you've
because
got.
The sample size is also there. The sample size against the same teams Tenier is playing is also there for Heavy God. That's
but
the
is
thing.
he a bum?
It's also there.
But is he a bum? Is he playing well?
No.
Is he playing well?
Yes. Yes.
Is he playing well? This domestic started pre-show.
Well.
This domestic started pre-show. We have been bickering about this forever because Quack seems to refuse to give Tenier any credit because of this sample size nonsense.
A lot
but
of
Heavy God plays one grand final,
like
one grand final, and all of a sudden he's valid. Like he's valid. He's checked out. I mean, we'll ignore that his top 10 opponents, he's a 1.00 flat. He's a bum against the top 10, who Tenier fucks on without hesitation. Just comes in another day at the office. Boom. Fucked him. Heavy God is still trying to get his fucking mouse up by the time he's dead half the rounds. And we're having a conversation because he played one grand final. Like, come on. You cannot just discount Tenier on this basis.
Tenier plays play-ins, wins the series, and gets knocked out. And you are the same guy who thinks the major is only the top 16 because the play-ins don't count. Why do they count for Katowice? Yeah, but then why don't the RMRs count? They were the major qualifiers.
They're also qualifiers. And they're a conversation we can have about evaluating rookies. But
all right, okay. So Tenier, if qualifiers count, then I guess Tenier makes it in because he played good in the Europe close qualifier for Dallas. And he gets
he doesn't make it in on that basis, but it's a part of the conversation of his entire year, what he's done. The fact that he played top 10 teams and didn't miss a beat is the part that really mattered. Like, the fact that he then went in and played top 10 teams and smashed them mattered. Not the part that he played well in the qualifier just by itself. No. It's a part of his year.
It's just the thing. When we're talking about Rookie of the Year, in motorsports, when we're talking about Rookie of the Year, we don't junior drivers often have stand-in stints in other series. They might be a full-time driver in Formula 2, but they get a couple of races in Formula 1. That's not their rookie year. Their rookie year is when they race the full season, when they participated in a full season. That's the rookie year. Leads to some quirks. You have drivers who have basically been driving Formula 1 cars for 3 years, but then they end up being Rookie of the Year. But that's sort of the standard we're at. Tenier, for me, he's playing in a league below and occasionally has stints up above.
So he's just
Heavy God is
not a rookie.
Playing in the league above. No, Tenier, I would probably be closer to say Tenier. So far, he's gonna end up there. Like Heroic have a good enough ranking at this point. They're gonna end up in a lot more big events. And I think they're a good enough team where I think they're gonna make it out of these play-ins that I'm using against them. But I'd be closer to say Tenier so far hasn't had his rookie year than to put him number 1 as Rookie of the Year because of the lack of sample size. Heavy God is going to be my Rookie of the Year. I'll say one thing I figured out pre-show. Icy shouldn't be on this list. Xfloud should be. And you could even make a case. This is egregious, but check the numbers. You could even make a case to say Hyped is in the top 5 over Icy because he has basically the same numbers.
Absurd inclusion. That is something we agree
is
upon.
honestly quite crazy. I'll give Icy credit because I think he's slightly
Got a pulse,
better.
Not been sick.
I think he's in some metrics he is slightly better than what his rating would suggest. Like I said again, he's one of the better clutchers this year, which is very good. He's trading very well, but that's more so Virtus Pro's playstyle.
18% saves per round loss. Despite the team shitting the bed, still sub 0.6 DPR. It's the most empty rating. He's managed to have an empty 1.01 rating as an AWPer.
That doesn't mean that he is. That doesn't mean that he is rookie. He's in Rookie of the Year contention. I don't think so. I'll say again, you could also justify putting IC in here because you need to put 5, but I still think Xfloud and I would say even Hyped is a better inclusion here than he would be. So. Because if you look at the numbers, they have basically the same numbers. They attend basically the same events. They finish at basically the same place. Like either one game away from playoffs or last. That's the only positions that Big and Virtus Pro both could finish in, and they do it at basically the exact same time at the exact same events. And IC and Hype put up basically the same numbers, but Hyped has higher peaks, which is insane. So yeah, so for that I'll say Hyped is a more valid inclusion. Xfloud again. Absolutely bombs out. Like his valleys are so low, but his peaks are really high, much more higher than IC has ever had. So IC is an absurd inclusion, but I could say because of the lack of players here, I could justify putting IC in like the 7th spot. So maybe him being top 5, yeah, doesn't really matter. Heavy God should be Rookie of the Year because he didn't play jack fucking diddly squat last year, and Tenier at the end of the year he's gonna have the tenure. Right now, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure he's there because
cool.
because
some of us survive. Players who will join this list.
I see that he is a great player. I see that he is maybe in a broader level of play across tier 1, tier 2. He is maybe the best player. Like he is maybe one of the best. He's definitely the best tier 2 player this year. He's definitely like tier 1.5. We're talking that layer, like ranks 12 to 24. He's probably the best player in that span in terms of staying in that level of play. He just hasn't stepped up into Formula 1 yet for me. He just hasn't. Like.
No, he just.
I hope he does. I hope
just
he
drove
does,
there
and he might do.
And made a podium every time. But ignoring all of that, let's talk about the players who will definitely join the conversation by the end of the year. Because we have 2 notable Russians who are going to be in part of this conversation. Like, I don't think we're going to end the year without talking about Zwy. I don't think we're going to end the year without talking about Kyosuke. In terms of Rookie of the Year conversation, quite obviously. Now, we have had a few awkward conversations about Kyosuke in terms of can he maintain his level? Like, will he be another Donk, as it's often put forth in rather lazy clickbaity headlines that I have, of course, made, because people click, I'm going to fucking write it. I think he could... Look, he's got the mechanics to come in and just put up essentially Malb's numbers. And I think it was 6 months of that on a team who should be making deep playoff runs. So as in, inflating the numbers, getting the stats in across a large sample size and actual real stats. I'm not talking he's going to be a 1.00, warm body. I think he will be putting up really strong, very high impact, very boom or bust numbers. I think he'll be in conversation for at least a top 3 spot. I mean, it depends on what everyone else does, but it's a good chance he ends up just winning it if he's putting up that kind of performance. I don't know how you see it, but for me, if we're talking Malbs MD, 1.15 with a 1.3 impact, 0.75 KPR type of player, just consistently making semis, like he's probably just going to win Rookie of the Year off of 6 months.
I think, again, talking about Donk, the outlier, last year mobs, again, in any non-Donk year, mobs would have been Rookie of the Year last year because he was very good. And I think Kyosuke has the potential to do the exact same thing. Yeah. And I will say if Falcon stay top 5 and Kyosuke averages at 1.15 at that level, then yeah, he's Rookie of the Year. Like, that's what's happening.
Yeah, even though it's only 6 months, that'd be such an absurd thing to have to overlook. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well.
It'd be kind of hard to. Like, that's
real
fragging and impact.
At that point, Tenier is going to have to match him or even surpass him. Unless Heroic are also a top 5 team of the year.
If Heroic manages to somehow be a top 5 team for the next 6 months, I'll be so happy, but very shocked.
In that case, Tenier is Rookie of the Year, but otherwise it's going to be Kyosuke. It just has to be so.
Yes, projecting numbers and making things up, we would say.
Projecting, I mean, there's every chance he's another Boros, and in that case, then no. But like,
I mean, Boros was only a 1.10 rated high impact entry player at the top level. The problem was never the server. It was never what was going on the server, really, the problem.
He had big bottoms out as well at some key events, but
a rookie like that, with that kind of peak,
in terms of coming into Falcons,
it's only his off-the-server issues that have that limited him.
Like, I think Boros technically had his rookie year when he was on Monty, because Monty ended up garnering quite a lot of invites off of the major performance. But so I think when he was considered a rookie, but I'm talking Boros on Falcons, like that's what I mean.
Boros on Falcons it's pretty much exactly what we're talking about, just on a lesser extent. Like he's 0.74 KPR, very strong, 1.20 impact, 1.08 rating. It's an incredibly strong player, and he peaks at Katowice for them. Like pretty much.
Yeah.
That's his strongest LAN performance, I believe. So he is clearly a player they can make something out of. If he's off the server, not a problem. But he is. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, okay. So Kyosuke there. There's possibilities that it goes worse than we're expecting. But I mean, I'm thinking that he's going to drop a 1.09 minimum if I'm just pulling a number out of my ass. That's sort of where I see the stats sheet looking like for Falcons at the end of the year. Mostly because I think he he probably, like, if Nico wasn't here, then he probably would have been dropping close to Nico's numbers, but Nico is here and he's not going to get priority over Nico. So that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah,
Kyusugi
I think he's going to play quite differently to Nico.
Yeah.
That's going to work in some ways, but at the same time, there are times when he's going to want to do something and he shouldn't be allowed to. That'll cause a different kind of conflict.
Yeah, and the 120 something he's got right now is not going to be happening on Falcons because of that. Exactly. So yeah. So Kyusugi is there. Zwei is there. I think Zwei is in the conversation. I find it hard that he would. Let's say Heroic break into the top 10. I find it hard to see. If Heroic break into the top 10, make several playoff finishes, then I find it hard for him to beat a 115 Tenier. But if Heroic stay where they are and they only play the odd event, they play the play-ins, they maybe make their groups and then they get knocked out, then I do see Zwei probably ending up over Tenier. But that's extrapolation. Zwei also could just fucking drown. Like,
he could struggle.
Could also happen. I think he's got huge potential, but I think he's going to be up there.
I just think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be insane. I just think he's going to be better than Magix, who for me was either a non-factor in rounds 1 or a genuine issue in rounds lost. Like, that was often my problem with Magix. He had moments that were better, but generally, over the course of the year, he's just not been good.
I'll say Molodoy, the way he's playing, I think he's got a chance to be up there. I think he's definitely got a chance to be up there when he gets more reps against better opposition, because he also is maybe out of all of these the most inexperienced guy. He was inexperienced even when he was on Amcal. He was never somebody with years, unlike Tenier, who's been around for quite a while in tier 2, unlike Kyusugi at this point, who's put in a lot of reps with Spirit Academy, which is already developing quite a lot with tier 1 as the target. Molodoy sort of built his career out of internet cafes, got his way onto Amcal off of that, and he's kept performing. He's still quite inexperienced, and that's still a factor here. If he keeps developing, I see Molodoy stepping up a bit rather than over the year, rather than his average decreasing. So that's possible. I'm talking about Heavy God being a rookie here. I think Heavy God could be with the changes they made to G2. I think Heavy God could improve over the rest of the season. I think we could see G2 make some playoff runs, and I think Heavy God could be up there. And PR, we didn't even touch on him, but I think PR, if Gamer Leader managed to stay on a top 10 level, and PR, again, also somewhat inexperienced, he could also, he has probably a couple of extra gears to put in as he gets more reps, maybe some more playoff finishes, because arena performance was Gamer Legion's easily the weakest thing Gamer Legion did all year, aside from even weaker than the MRQ, I think, was their arena performance, and I think they knew that going in, that they weren't going to play well in the arena, the one appearance they made. So
important
PR,
question. Matisse is definitely a rookie this year, right? He's played 2 pro leagues.
Yes.
Like, that's it.
Yes, he would be.
We'll see how he does.
I don't see.
It's going to be harder for him to get real consistent, I think, output, just in terms of he's playing on a team with a much more hodgepodge everything, and he's got to adjust the roles to fit with Malves. I think it'll be tough for him to really make that sort of firm run.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be a more difficult team to predict.
Yeah, and also that's going to be him versus Heavy God in that case for my rookie consideration, and I'm not sure I see Mattis in half a year doing enough to displace Heavy God over a whole year, assuming Heavy God also, because I think G2 have improved with these roster changes, assuming Heavy God also somewhat improves with the better team, with the better finishes they can make out of this. So yeah.
Sorry, it's just an hour 20 minutes. This is going to be a long-ass episode, despite there being literally nothing to talk about. We've technically made it insanely long.
Between Tenier, Zwei, Kyusuke, Heavy God, PR, as someone to touch on, Grix, there's a chance we get a 120 something or maybe a 118 average out of Grix, and a very good season in tier 1 play. I'm not sure, but there's a chance.
Basically, we've gone from a dire rookie class to 6 months of just dire rookie play to a bunch of fresh rookies that could actually be really fucking good, and it actually might be an interesting conversation by the end of the year, rather than Icy's here for some reason, and Jota was a warm body. I guess he gets to be here too. Like, we'll actually have some interesting conversations.
I think at the end of the year, we're going to end up with PR, Zwei, Kyusuke, Heavy God. HLTV might even consider him, but he's getting robbed of that. Heavy God, or course I had Mattis, maybe Tenier, maybe Grix, and Molodoy, and I think all of those 8 players have a chance of being somewhere between 115 and 107 year average at basically the same level of play, because the only 2 guys who are at a clearly higher level of play here are, in terms of who they're playing more often, how deep they're making it, it's going to be Kyosuke and Zwei. So basically at the same level of play, 1.07 to 1.15, different roles to consider. It's going to be very even, I think, for who's going to be Rookie of the Year, unlike last year where it was Donk. But Mobs maybe being the real one, who is not who in every other year would have been Rookie of the Year, but because Donk, he wasn't.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Coach of the Year.
Oh, Jesus. I'm winded out of this. Okay. Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year.
It's going to be Xtaz. Next question.
It's going to be Xtaz. It's,
yeah.
It's always a conversation in terms of what a coach does as well. We have to be, we have to consider that maybe Xtaz has the easiest job in the world as far as who he's coaching. But still, 7 straight titles, Major 1, Katowice 1. It feels like the clean sweep isn't unjustified for Vitality in that sense. As much as we might like coaches like Mara, like Cyclone, everyone seems to love Halley. And if his IGL's as shit as everyone thinks he is, clearly Halley should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. If his IGL is that bad and he's still won 2 titles, has a round win rate of like 60%, map win rate 74%, like all these insane stats despite having a shit IGL, should be in the conversation. I don't think it's as clear cut, really, between those two. For me, the one part of Coach of the Year that actually kind of frustrates me is Zonyx here, just by default. Despite the fact that in terms of what coaches have done this year, in terms of coaches who have taken fresh rosters, who've taken difficult situations and made them into real teams, Saw and Ash have a better case than Zonic. Zonic has a super team and still doesn't do anything. Like realistically, that's the reality of what Zonic has. I don't see it as a reasonable conversation.
Yeah, no, Xtaz takes number 1 because of achievement. Like I said, a lot of the time, Team of the Year and Coach of the Year is going to end up being the same sort of conversation, and that's unfortunate, but I also can't really argue with the fact that Xtaz is a big contributing factor in why Vitality are this good, and he has to be up there. Second place, we spoke about Cyclone earlier, about how Cyclone, again, you sort of have to look at past history and say that Cyclone is the common denominator between Brawlin and Shui. So I give some credit to Cyclone there. At this point, Mouse have a very consistent run up in Tier 1. Before, we used to see quite a bit of up and down from them, where we'd see roster change and they have a bit of a honeymoon, but then they really dropped off. For the past year and a half, maybe, it's been very solid for them. And that's to Cyclone's credit. But again, that's extrapolating over a much longer time period. We're talking this year. There's that. There's Halley. Subjectively, I'm not sure I rate Halley that highly. You always make the joke about how it was whenever Spirit lose, it's about the prep, or it's about the whatever.
Yeah, he's always taking the tank. He's like, oh, it's all me. I did this wrong. It's like, how many times can he do everything wrong? But at the same time, everyone watches the behind the scenes stuff and goes, well, Halley's actually the reason they win anything in the first place. And I'm like, can we make our minds up? Like, is he?
Yeah.
Are we believing him and his deprecating basically like interviews, or are we believing everyone else's analysis of the behind the scenes vlogs of like Chopper's actually useless, Halley's a god? I mean, we'll ignore that Chopper was an okay IGL pre Halley.
Yeah.
But like, is it? Which is it? Like, which one of these two extremes are we actually buying into? This year, Spirit, they farmed so hard against teams who are basically not Vitality, Mouse, Spirit, Vitality, Mouse, Falcons, that they have the insane map win rate and round win rate they have, plus 2 titles. Does anyone get credit or does no one get credit? Like, that's kind of the conversation we're having, which is weird for a team who could be essentially like number 2 in the world. If we come to the end of the year, they could be like the second best team in the world and no one's to give their IGL or their coach credit. But everyone also wants to really just roast the rest of the team who aren't Donk. It's very strange, because as much as Donk is an outlier statistically, he's not got a KPR of 4. Something just doesn't quite make a lot of sense to me. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes. Mara,
see
of
how
course,
that
I think
goes.
deserves a lot of credit, but it's just hard to make a case for him.
For me, a
To be
lot of
number
that
one,
ends up.
like-
For me, a lot of that ends up coming down to how the rest of the year goes for Mongols. Because right now, what they have in the bag is a couple of playoff finishes that ended up in matches lost. You had the one win against Liquid, which is also not that heavy, and I think they beat Eternal Fire once, who also have made playoffs and then lost almost every time. It's been very difficult for them to actually make a run in playoffs rather than just making it there. So that's what they have so far, and the major final, and the 2 wins they had on the way there. One of them being against Pain. It's not overly impressive. So
yeah, it's not the craziest major final run, but it's not something we expected either. I mean, generally people picked FaZe to win that match.
Yeah,
we expected the factors of the big stage to play a part of it, and then when they got to the grand final, they took map 1. Like, they didn't get blown out. They didn't completely wither away. That's something to give a sparse amount of credit to Mara for. It's an improvement. It's that continued improvement that we need to see from a quality coach, quality IGL. Like, just it's a part of the reasoning we have when we talk about subjective stuff. Where we're not just talking about, oh, they've won X amount of titles and X amount of games, boom, done. Like, end of discussion.
Yeah. So I'll say for that, if the rest of the year ends up with Mongols being a solid top 5 team, maybe even entering the conversation of Vitality, Mouse, Spirit as championship level teams. If they enter that conversation solidly rather than floating around the Eternal Fire kind of mark, then I would definitely consider Mora as one of the front runners. Right now, I sort of see that, like, he's doing a lot, and he's doing a lot with players who are not particularly experienced. They're very young. It is still not quite where I consider the top players to be, like where I consider these top teams and their coaches to be. Because you could say the same thing about Halley last year. He also had a team with 3 players who, well, 2 players anyway, who really didn't have a lot of top tier experience. Magix and Chopper were also very much, prior to 2024, they were very much sort of group stage level teams or level players. They rarely did Spirit have a squad that was genuinely in a top 5 conversation. So for that matter, you could say the same thing that Halley did it last year when he had Zontix and Donk come in. But I don't know. I just don't really know what to. So for Moria, that's sort of similar to me because it's 5 players instead of a couple. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I would think there. It has to be, for me, this has to be more subjective than just they won a lot. But I have a hard time rating it. I'd probably put Cyclone number 2. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right, next, the hardest one of all. Team of the year.
Vitality.
Look, everyone's talking all this about Vitality, but look, hey, they've only won 81.6% of the maps they've played. You know, that's almost 19% of the time they lose.
Yeah.
Clearly fucking
You're not winning
bums.
majors with that number.
Oh, 7 trophies? I don't know, man. Prime Astralis won 10.
Yeah.
How can they be Team of the Year? No, I've kept.
How can they be Team of the Year?
It's a pointless discussion.
Look,
to have.
okay.
it's just done.
Let's just hypothesize. Spirit or Mouse, one of the two, have a second half of the year equivalent to Vitality's first half. It's not gonna happen. Never in my life. But let's just extrapolate it happens. Would Vitality still be Team of the Year if they are consistently the second best team?
Yeah.
Yeah. Third best team.
It's a debate, but yeah.
Yeah. That's the level of absurdity we're talking about. We're talking about somebody being as dominant and Vitality not being second best. Like, that's the level of absurdity we need to have to displace Vitality here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. We could have an interesting conversation at the end of the year about second place. Like, we could talk about, is it the Spirit with their 2 titles currently over like some of these teams who've only won 1, but they've, been better at the events Vitality win. Does they get credit for that? Do we take it away from them for that? There's some sort of weird conversation to be had, I think, in that context, in terms of who's number 2. But for me, it feels a bit redundant. Because it feels like in the scene currently we have Vitality, some other teams. Pick who you want where. based on your criteria, and then the rest of the pack.
Yep.
And then, Mongols kind of shifted their way up to try and join that conversation slowly, whilst Aurora went the other way, it felt like, over the course of the entire season. But Team of the Year is not a conversation.
It's not a conversation. About that number 2, I'm looking through it. We have only 4 big events which haven't gone to Vitality. In only one of those big events, Vitality were present. And I will note the champion of that one event didn't play Vitality. It was Spirit in Blast Bounty. So we also had Astana, where Spirit quite notably won without Mouse or Vitality being present, which definitely changes things, changes the framing of that event. Even Mongoose were there, but Spirit again didn't play them. So you could I'm not going to say it's a Mickey Mouse run to Astana, but they were the favorites, and they didn't even play the second best team. Like the second best team attending, I guess it was Navi if you want to go by ranking, and they didn't even play them. Yeah, no, they didn't even play the second best team. So and then also you have where Mouse won inclusion at Poka. Again, Spirit weren't here, Vitality weren't here. It's Falcons were there. Falcons also were not in Astana, and Falcons were very good at that time. So Falcons were here in Cluj-Napoca, and Mouse beat them to win this. So good on them, I guess. And then you have Bucharest, where Falcons won, where Mouse notably weren't. Neither Mouse nor Spirit nor Vitality were in attendance, and the next best team aside from Falcons attending was probably Aurora at the time. So yeah, it's those events are definitely get an asterisk, because in all 3 of those wins, all 4 of those wins that I mentioned, the next best team either wasn't present or they didn't have to play them. And that's putting an asterisk on Spirit's win, on Mouse's win. Mouse and Blast Bounty weren't even they didn't even manage to qualify for it. But I'd still probably say, in terms of winning events, I can't really give more credit to Spirit nor Mouse nor Falcons in terms of winning events based on the events they won, because most of them they didn't have to beat the other guy to make it. What I have to base it off is basically their second place finish and where they end up for the rest of the year. And for that, I think I have to take Mouse, because in that top 3 conversation, we had Spirit, we had Mouse, we had Falcons in terms of fighting for number 2. And I would say Mouse are the only ones who could, with some consistently, beat these other guys in these events and finish highly in all of those events. Rough start to the year, but post Brolan, it's been excellent for them. So yeah, for that, I after the Cluj win, they had second place in Pro League, second place in Lisbon, top 4 in Melbourne, top 4 in Blast Rivals, second place in Dallas, top 4 in the major. Where at that point you had them knocking out Spirit in some of these events, the major notably. You also had Falcons also getting knocked out by Mouse at some points, especially pre-Monacy, but even they stumbled a bit post-Monacy. There was a time when Mouse definitely lost to Falcons, but it's I'd have to take Mouse here for number 2, even if I think maybe 2 of the best games all year and 2 of the closest grand finals we've had all year were Falcons versus Vitality. Post to those games, I think I even said on the show the Falcons were number 2, but it's over the course of the year, Falcons have been too up and down for me to say that consistently. So yeah, and also they didn't make it that deep at the major. They got knocked out very early. So Mouse has to be my number 2 team of the year.
Yeah, that's all fair enough. I think by the end of the year, I think that'll be the conversation to have is number 2. Yeah. But look, that's brings us to the last of these categories, and we kind of set this up as far as how we might have a conversation. Player of the year. Obviously, there's 2 names that are realistic, and then 3 players who are here because they're the best of the rest. So it's Donk versus ZywOo. For a lot of people, it's how dare you consider Donk? ZywOo has been untouchable. And that's when you have to remind them about the outlier situation of you can't overlook. Jesus Christ, my camera just keeps losing focus today. You just can't overlook how insanely statistically dominant Donk has been this year. The way you make the case for ZywOo is in a variety of ways. I mean, you start off with just how how he can play in a variety of different ways. He can enable his teammates to be more active by even taking like anchor spots at times with his rifle. He can set himself up to dominate teams using the AWP as well. He can do a lot of different things. He can open, he can trade, he can close. Plus, the most important factor, I think, this year, Donk falls off statistically versus top 5, versus top 10. ZywOo is just a straight line pretty much across all levels of competition and across all stages of play, quite importantly. That's a key factor in the conversation last year. This year, no such issues, no such worries. He's just been a robot, just pumping out that 1.37, 1.38 rating, which is an absurd rating to hold by itself. And despite the fact that Donk has still a better KPR, even against the top 5, like he's still at 0.88, we can tell there's a bit of a drop-off that there isn't in ZywOo's play that factors into everything else. So for me, ZywOo's still number 1. I still think he's going to be, by the end of the year, we'll see. Because if Spirit come back and, like, let's say, match Vitality blow for blow in terms of just second half of the year performance, and Donk manages to get those fragging numbers up in those bigger games, we might have a conversation, but it's hard to envision. For now, ZywOo's number 1, Donk's number 2, then we can start bickering about m0NESY and whoever else at number 3.
Something has to change for Donk to think number 1. ZywOo's definitely leading, especially with the fact that Donk drops off against Vitality in particular. He doesn't drop off as much versus Mouse. Like, there's a drop off from his average to his overall 1.31, which he drops against Mouse, but that's also with in mind that he only wins a third of the maps against Mouse, and he's lost every series against Mouse. If you look at Shiro, for example, his Mouse rating goes down to a 1.05.
Which is more the issue. Like, I'm not going to talk about how many maps they've won, realistically, when I'm talking about an individual's performance.
No, yeah, of course.
That's not what
yeah, but I think the context is still important that Donk, the drop-off against Mouse is perhaps explainable also by the fact that they're losing. But then you have his drop-off against Vitality is significant. Like, that's a 1.15 he's got there. And that's, they lose even more to Vitality, but it's still, like, that's a noticeable drop-off. Which is notable. He's only played the one series against Falcons. I can't really compare him there. But even against some of the worst top 5 teams, like against Eternal Fire, when he's played them in the 2 series he's played, one of them is a grand final. He might have won. Oh,
huh?
My bad. My phone. My phone was calling. My phone was ringing. My bad. He's only played 2 series. He's won both of them, but he has a 126 against Eternal Fire, which is quite far below his numbers. So, like, as the level of opposition goes up, Donk's average drops off quite significantly in a way that ZywOo's doesn't really. The only top 5 team Donk has really got the number of is Na'Vi, as does the whole Spirit squad. They have nothing to counter. Like, Na'Vi have nothing to counter Spirit with. ZywOo's year average goes up against both Mouse and Spirit. So that's something to consider. There's role considerations there. There's
huge role considerations in terms of overall rating, because if you're a player who loses games, your rating goes down. It's always been a problem with HLTV rating, where a player is basically unfairly punished for the fact that your team overall is just not as good. And so the things that build the case for Donk go beyond just his raw KPR. Like, things I've brought up in the past, in half buys versus a full buy, Donk still has 100 ADR. He's still putting out a kill per round, pretty much, in rounds where he has an inferior buy, where he's having to drag a team, either often with a hero AK, but still, that's no mean feat, or a Deagle. This is, statistically absurd. So a lot of what Donk does has to be said within the context of, and he has no chance to just farm up his rating. He has no free final. Like, there is no such thing as an easy win in the playoffs for this Spirit team. He needs to be on his best game, and he can't just pad his stats a bit with the DPR. He can't rely on things like that. He has to frag, purely frag, and he does it insanely well, and he gets credit for it. That's still insane. Yeah,
it's also like Donk. His drop off against top 5 is also a difference between, does he have teammates which themselves can compete with top 5 teams, or compared to what ZywOo has, because ZywOo has, like we saw early in the year as well, when Vitality were winning Katowice. Rops was one of the guys really stepping up. Flamesy can really step up. And even the absolute floor with Messi and Apex is still excellent against this level of opposition. So does Donk really have that in Zontix and Shiro? No, that it's definitely weaker. So with that in mind, how much more does Donk have to lift in these series compared to ZywOo? Then it's natural that drop off happens. But yeah, something has to change. ZywOo's leading in terms of actual player of the year. Team achievement is also obviously a factor in that, and just a huge spot on Spirit's mark is the fact that they've never had to beat Vitality or Mouse to win an event this year. Like they haven't faced Vitality or Mouse in a single grand final. Or rather, they haven't won a single one. I think maybe they've faced Vitality a couple of times in grand finals.
Yeah, grand final, I'm not sure, but in playoffs, I think they have.
Yeah, but it's also like
no, they have lost the grand final 3-0 as well. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, Katowice, they got absolutely smacked by Vitality. But even post that, like the fact that they've basically not consciously maybe, but they've basically been dodging Vitality all year, also is a big mark on Spirit for me, because at the very least, if he was putting up good performances against ZywOo in grand finals and his team was losing, then maybe I'd give some more credit to him. But at this point, it's just there's no data. Like you're comparing Western, like it's two different conferences. It almost feels like in terms of play. So it's got to be ZywOo, and Donk has to play Vitality and show that he's up there to take number one. That being said, so far last year Donk did the best individual year of all time in Tier 1. And Donk has by far, like by quite a big margin so far, has improved on that year, which is insane to say. So yeah, what's happening is
just to highlight
crazy.
again the absurdity of that half by stat, because I see Joe Wright having some pushback. His rating with an AK when the team has a half by is 1.71. I don't care how many flashbangs the rest of the bots throw. That's insane and unprecedented. His Deagle is at 95 ADR in a half-by. He's basically a kill per half-by on a Deagle. This is not normal. We can't downplay it in any way. It is one of one, unprecedented, untouched. That is why the conversation isn't dead.
Yep. But yeah, it's probably going to be ZywOo. And I struggle to see Donk being number one, even if he improves on that, and even if he starts showing stuff against ZywOo in particular, and even if he further elevates his game in the fall season compared to spring season. Even if he does that, I struggle to see him taking HLTV's Player of the Year because of the trophy consideration.
Yeah, but the EVPs, the MVPs, the trophies lifted, all that stuff's going to play a factor. But the real debate will be by the end of the year if he has managed to at least match him as far as his individual output and his performances in the big games. Because that's still the talking point we have to bring up against him. Against Vitality, he's only 1.15 rated. Sure, it's a 1.15 rating of insane amount of kills, insane amount of deaths, but it's still a factor. It's still a part of the conversation. So no, we'll see how it ends up shaking up. If we get the same thing again, it's still ZywOo. We have ZywOo.
Yeah.
We're not in that... we're not deluding ourselves to the point where we will say Donk is number one right now. But we have to give him that sort of respect and that insane credit and appreciation that nothing we've seen from him this year has ever been done before, as far as just raw output.
I will also say, before we end on this, in terms of the top 5 as a whole, you can order them. How exactly we order them is definitely going to depend on how the fall season goes, but I don't see anybody else making it into the top 5 aside from Monacy, Shiro, and Rops, because as much as they are just the next best guys, there's a huge gulf between them and the next best players.
Can we leave number 3 blank in the HLTV top 20 this year? Or can we call it 3.5 or something? Because we have to give those two their own little zone.
Yeah, but then also leave number 6 blank, because there's nobody like it's I guess the closest one would be Flamesy role wise. Him being 0.06 afloat of Rops is maybe closer than the rating makes it out to be. But the next best players in behind Rops, Shiro, and Monacy are Flamesy, Centaurus, Nico, sitting evenly on a 1.14, and then you're talking Frozen, Heavy God, and I'm ignoring Grim and Holzer because I don't think they have the sample size to make it into the list. And then Senzu, Zershan. Like, there's a big gulf here. Like, Monacy and Shiro are pretty much where they've always been. They've been good, but they haven't been able to touch the number one players, which before it's been Simple and ZywOo. Now we're talking ZywOo and Donk. Last year, I think Monacy got much closer than he's going to be this year, but
based off what he's done so far, he's not breathing on the top two. Like, that's not happening.
No. So, and then, Rops as well is there. It's not only because of team achievement, of course, but he is such a big part of that team, and he's playing so well on that team. Where so far, I think this might be his best year. It's definitely his best year overall, but I think it might also be his best year statistically speaking. Career-wise, I think it is.
It is best comfortably.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty crazy year from Rops overall.
Yeah. So for that, it's that's how it's looking at the moment. But yeah, and then the next up is Nico. I don't think Nico. I think Nico and Centaurus you might honestly need to remove from the top 5 consideration, mostly because their teams aren't doing too much right now. It is those 2 grand finals, but it's also the group stage bomb outs and the major miss. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty difficult to put somebody above there. We're gonna need to see a big drop off from Rops, or maybe a big step up from Flamesy. But yeah, that's basically the end of it, and I think that's all of the categories. And I think we need to move on because this show is extraordinarily long.
It is indeed. I just wanted to look up something quite. Yeah. So the gap from Donk to ZywOo in ADR is the same as the gap. Classic comparison we always do. From ZywOo to about Twist.
Sorry.
Twist has got a decent ADR. Twist.
I thought
no, so, not Twist the Swede, who is clearly retired. Twist's the Liquid player.
He's in his prime career form.
He's like a full 9 ADR above ZywOo. But if we talk about outside of those two, the problem Monacy currently has is that he's at 83 ADR. Which is good for an AWPer, because AWPers don't really get free damage that often. But he's still 14 back of a player, which would put him, that gap 14 down goes down to 69. We're talking role players now. Like, that's the difference in just output in terms of damage. So, yeah, Donk is having an incredible year. An incredible year. Shall we finally move on from the HLTV Awards?
Let's move on.
Let's talk about my small site retake. Let's talk about the EEF, the European Esports Federation, whatever the hell we want to call it, European Championship. This is realistically not what I expected to happen on the men's side. On the women's side, exactly what I thought would happen happened. Of course, France #1, suck it everyone else. Our team plays all year together, so it makes sense, but still, #1, suck it everyone else. Plus the Russians, not allowed, so we're #1, suck it Russia. Yep. You don't get to play. I love this situation, by the way. Just removing Russia from everything and just being like, we're the best now. But yeah.
You see, in other sports, it doesn't really matter that much because Russia isn't that good in football. But here, in esports, it really fucking matters.
Yeah. So suck it. But in the men's side, Lithuania upset TNL in the grand final. That's the team made up of Ryu, of Monty, Jigs of Navi Academy, Magilla, currently of no one, but he has played with Copenhagen Wolves recently, or is he on Copenhagen Wolves? No, he's a Fish 1-2-3 now with Spuya. So kind of not with the team, but also with that team, as it were. Spardaus of, I think he literally is of no one. Yeah. And Bimas, currently of no one, but famously we all remember Bimas. That team goes and upsets TNL, who've been the tier 2 darlings, really, of the last 6 months. They've won a lot of small lands. They've won a lot of online cups. They've played some excellent CS. They actually get 2-0'd, 13-9, 16-12 by Ryu, Jigs, and Lithuania. An insane run. I mean, I thought they might struggle in the semi-final to beat Germany. I was hoping that the winner of Lithuania-Kosovo would beat Germany. I thought that'd be cool. And they did.
Germany being big for those.
Basically big, but with Skrunk instead of... Am I going crazy? Who do I not remember on big?
Hyped didn't go.
Instead of hyped, yeah, which is a bit of a problem for big. Funnily enough, not having their AWPer. But they are still, one of the favourites to win the entire thing once they make playoffs. But Lithuania beat them 2-1 with a top frag performance out of Bimas, of all players. Not expecting that. But he overall doesn't have that great tournament, just had a great semi. Grand final, 2-0 in the way of Lithuania. I think
Yep.
a surprise, but clearly there's some life left in players like Ryu. There's something to show for Jigs. He's not just a guy on that academy side. He can play some decent CS. I think we often underrate the players on the academies, like Spirit Academy, like Navi Junior, when we look beyond the top star players. But Jigs might have something to him. I mean, I've been a fan of Magilla for a while, just in terms of the flashes I've seen at the low level. But it's great to see them come together and actually beat a team who've been together for a while and really strong. I mean, they made such short work of a really strong Denmark team, did TNL, that I was convinced this wouldn't go Lithuania's way. But it did. 2-0. Big dub.
Yep.
Congratulations. That's 14k in the bank.
Yep.
Or 15 basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a VRS event. It would be basically impossible to do this. You would need to force all of the federations to have VRS compliant open qualifiers, which is just not going to happen. Most of these federations are not developed enough to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And there's a big gap in that, where like the Swedish federation is like nationally sanctioned. We have a very big process in how you create like sanctioned clubs and in sanctioned leagues and sanctioned events that just does not exist in a lot of these countries, where they rather just twice a year they pick a national team and they send it to them, and that's basically all they do. So it would be impossible to do that. But yeah, we've had it's a cool event. It's crowd experience for a lot of these players who maybe haven't had that a lot. I'm not sure Jugs has played a lot of LAN in like on stage, so cool for him to make that happen. Same for Ryu. TNL were definitely up there, especially at a LAN event like this, which is where they have had really good form in the past. So them making the final, I'm not hugely surprised by. But this Lithuania team, I did say they were dangerous, but they're just a mixed team. Like they never play together, and that makes it very impressive. The fact that they actually go and win this, and it's Lithuania taking just in terms of like what quality players exist in different European countries. Lithuania taking a European title is quite big. We don't have a lot of talented Lithuanian players, and I'll say JL wasn't here. Like probably the premier Lithuanian player didn't attend. So
no, Lithuania, especially, I was amusing myself by looking through. I was like, who even AWP'd for this team? And it was Magilla a bit. Like that was their only AWPing player. Like I was thinking about it. Like there doesn't seem to be any AWPers, and I don't know much about the Spardaus guy, but don't think he is an AWPer. No, he's not. Yeah, it is Magilla on the AWP for 0.2 sniper kills per round. Obviously, much more on the CT side than T side, where he is a monster with a rifle. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, this is it's a weird hodgepodge mix to stick together. But clearly, a lot of untapped talent and potential in the Lithuanian scene. I think that's fair to say.
Yep. And yeah, on the women's side, it did happen basically as you wanted to. I'm still happy with the Swedish performance,
close,
mostly because
holy crap, Zeros made it
the Netherlands
look
are really
difficult.
good. Netherlands are really good. They have won the World Championship before with a very similar squad. It's basically the NIP twins, Naomi and Kiara, Manishinx, who's very good. Also Missy, who I know.
Like, she's played on some decent level teams.
Yeah, and then Missy, who has also been around in the past on Ensathina and here and there. She's been floating around. It's a solid team. It's just that France are on a really high level at the moment. And it really shows that they are playing really well. And they deserve their win for sure. I'm quite happy with Sweden's performance still. We put up a fight against the Netherlands, and we were missing Zaz, which I know was like a big. It definitely
would Zaz still represent Sweden? Hasn't she like changed her flag? Like, isn't she like?
As far as I know, that's not why. That's not why she was missing. I think she was missing because she couldn't get away from Imperial. I mean, that's weird because she's benched now, but whatever the case, like I don't think that's the case. Maybe it is. I don't know. They spoke about it in some interview and I can't remember, but I remember thinking, oh, so it wasn't about Lebanon. But no, I think maybe she just couldn't or didn't want to go. But that's a big talent missing for them. And I'm still happy that they managed to make it this far. I'm especially happy with beating Denmark in the group stage because they went on record in a Dust2 DK interview prior to the game. They said, usually Sweden is a team we beat fairly comfortably, and we beat them twice in the groups. Fuck yeah. So, but yeah, losing to Portugal, that's a bit of a shame. I feel like we maybe should beat Portugal, but yeah, there's still a lot of positives to take away here. But yeah, Emerson, especially top player of the event, great in the third place decider versus Portugal, great in a lot of these other games. Very good, because she is quickly emerging as probably, like, maybe you could maybe even say, with how Giuliano had a very poor impact season, you could maybe say Emerson is approaching being the best Swedish impact player at the moment. I mean, with Zaz not playing, Giuliano having a weak impact season, and Emerson playing solidly in bad roles and also very good in the national team, she's approaching being one of our better players, and that's really good to see. But yeah, that's the women's side of that event. And the male side, TNL, I think we spoke briefly about this prior to the event, because I think it's fun with a lot of this national team play. And I think we said that this was going to be either Big, TNL, or Sashi as basically the three teams they play together. Like they actually have some tenure with each other. Like they practice together, and they actually play outside of these championships as well. It's not just random mixed teams. But neither of them end up making it. Two of them were actually beaten by Lithuania as well. So that didn't end up being the case. So solid by Lithuania.
Yeah. But okay, that's EEF. We do have your small site retake. Then we have cock of the week. Then we still have rosters and stuff going down. Yes, and then we do have prospects of the week. There's still some stuff to get through, but I think the biggest chunk of time definitely was the opening segment. Although we are almost 2 hours in already. Holy crap!
Yeah, a lot of bickering there.
Yeah, I mean it's hard when someone's wrong. Let's get into it.
It is indeed.
Let's play a game. What is this you want me to do? Because I remember you sent me a very long fucking paragraph or two about this. Yeah. I'd rather you talk it through. Let's talk about this. What is this?
I like trivia games, and I think they could be really fun for the show. If you're sitting at home, listen up right now, because you could play along with this. This is a small little trivia guessing game, which I've stolen from people on Instagram when they talk about football. Avoid saying the same thing as me. So I'm going to give you 6 statements, which is, or like categories of players or teams or whatever the else that you have to name something out of. And I have predetermined answers on my screen right now, which I've picked out in each of these categories.
Yep.
If you pick the same, you've lost.
Okay.
So I have 6 questions. So number 1, they start quite easy, where you have a lot of options to pick from, and then they get quite narrow. So the final one...
There's a lurking fear in my head, which is like, will I know an answer for all of these? Like, am I going to have to look it up whilst I do it?
There is... I would ask you not to look it up, because if you look it up, the last one gets much more easy if you actually have the ability to look it up. But yeah, so this is off the top of your head. So the first one is very broad. You have 1 in 160 chance of matching with me. Name any player who played in the 2025 Austin Major.
Austin Major?
Yes, the last major. So
all 3 stages.
32 teams attending. Yeah, all 3 stages. Any player.
Oh no, you like that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have to you're not going to do 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to say it.
No, say the pick. Say
Kicksan.
The pick. I picked Zwei, so good job. You carry on through. Somebody actually failed that. I tested this on 2 people, and 1 person picked Zwei. Yeah.
Oh wow.
All right, second question. Name any currently active Swedish player. So here you have I'd say maybe 50 players to pick from.
Okay. Susp.
Good pick. I had Isak, of course, Retake the Week staple. The official mascot of the Retake the Week podcast.
Really is.
Name any major champion AWPer.
Major champion AWPer.
Yeah, so here you have round about 20 options, I think.
Okay, Moo.
Oh, good pick. I had James. As maybe number four. Name any team that was ranked number 1 in 2020. So the whole calendar year of 2020. Who was at some point ranked number 1 on the HTTP ranking. And I'll tell you, you actually have 7 options for this.
2020. Do I lose if I answer something just wrong? Like,
you lose in that case. But there's a couple you definitely know. There's a couple you can maybe make an educated guess on. So online CS. So this is all year. Like, it's start of the year.
Oh,
We had some like, all year, but like you can think of like who was number one at the start of the year, who was we had a bit of LAN play early on, and then we had a couple of online events, and then meandering through. We had
right,
the
your camera
NA
has
EU split.
dropped. I need to refresh it in some way. But yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so there's a part of me that... Oh, there we go, it's come back. There's a part of me that immediately went... For some reason, my head went to Evil Geniuses, but I'm like, there's no fucking way that's then. Like, they were in contention for top spots a couple years before that, I feel like. So it cannot be Evil Geniuses, right? They weren't number one at any point in 2020. I'm just going to go with the obvious one that I can think of. I feel like I'm fucked here. I'm going to go Vitality.
Good, because I had Heroic. And I'll tell you, Evil Geniuses were a valid pick. They were number one at one point in 2020. Because of the NA
I gotta
EU
trust
splits.
myself, yeah. I gotta trust myself.
They won the online NA events, and because of the way the algorithm worked, it didn't know how to deal with that. So it basically counted it as being equal to the EU ones.
Yeah, Big my number one, Fnatic my number one. Holy crap.
I'll tell you, for the viewers playing at home, here are all the options. Astralis started the year number one. Navi took it after winning Katowice. Fnatic took it after winning ESL Pro League, I think. And then we had Big and Heroic as the two big onliners. And we had EG with the NA EU split, and Vitality, who peaked twice at number one in 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all the options. Number five. This is difficult. You have 1 in 6 to get this wrong. Name any HLTV number one player.
Any HLTV number one player?
Yeah, on the top 20 list. And I'll say the ones that don't count it, because there's a couple here which are CSGO only, so I know they did the list in 2010
CS
and 20.
1.6. Ah.
There's two picks here. There's two picks here which are they did the list in 2010 and 2011, so Neo and Markelov, they do not count. 2012 they didn't have one.
I was 100% going to answer Markelov if you didn't say that. 100% I was going Markelov.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Cold Zero.
Good one. I had Simple. I went for the obvious one. So
yeah, I thought you might.
It's
either gone that or he's gone Get
well.
Right. And I was like, all right, I'll pick 2016. I just picked the year, then thought who was number one.
Yeah, okay. This is a tricky one, and you can't look this up. If you're playing at home, you can't look this up. Name any player who at any point got an MVP while finishing second.
Okay.
And the thing is, there's a fuck ton of options here. Like, I think there's 14 different players.
So the thing is, there's a ton of ZywOo and there's a ton of Simple, which are the two obvious picks. And I can just coin flip and assume you've gone for one of them because they're the most obvious. But if I have to... Because I remember there was a whole hoopla about someone posting about ZywOo being the first player to win from second place. And I was like... and just went digging. And I found, I think... I'm not locking this answer in. But I believe... Jesus Christ, please focus. I believe Forest did it way back when. But let me see. Has Donk even done it? Just going to hide chat, because I see chat popping up, so I'm just going to block it with my hand. I'll just look over this way. I could just flip the coin. No, okay, I'm going to try and do my deep pull. I think Forest is a second place MVP. And I'm going to go Forest.
I've looked this up. He does not.
What? Fuck!
You're wrong. I've looked this up. I unless I've made a huge mistake, I have to check this now. But I'm pretty damn sure that he does not have one. Because I looked through every MVP holder. I also looked through their trophies page on HLTV, and he won all of the events that he had an MVP in. So I'll double check that now, just in case I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, he seems
but...
he does. I'm probably wrong. NIP win, NIP win, NIP win, NIP win. Fuck.
Right.
I might have been thinking
so
like some 1.6 bullshit, but yeah.
You got 5 out of 6. So that's still a good job. I'll tell you, the two obvious ones are Simple and ZywOo.
Yeah. Does Donk have
the one I had for those playing at home is Kenny S.
I should have known that.
I picked that
I
picked that specifically to snipe you as well, because I thought that maybe you knew about the one Kenny S second place MVP.
Yeah, I should have known that. I remember it now,
or 14, I think.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I'll read out the other options for those playing at home. So Simple and ZywOo. Kenny S had one. Nico had one, his first one actually, this year. Donk had Betboom Dacha last year. Shox has one. Axile has one, which I think might have been online, but it still counts. Brokey has one. from LAN. Yuri has one. Apparently also online, I think. Twists has one from New York. Yes, the chat mentioned. It was in today's. It was one of the events in today's timeline event on
I
HLTV.
forget you play that. Yeah, I should do that.
Flamey has one. Hunter has one from CS Summit when Mouse won. I didn't even realize Hunter had more than one MVP, but he did. Valde has one from Flashpoint where Virtus Pro won. Fang has one from the online FunSpark Ulti event.
Yeah,
when he
some
played
of
for
them,
Extra
some of
Souls.
them got so. When you look back, you think some of these are just actually stupid. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
some of them are stupid. They should not have
Yep.
been MVPs. Like Hunter at CS
Yeah.
Summit, I don't know, I've never looked into, but I feel like the FunSpark Fang one is like he's like 1.18 rated or something. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, but the winner was big, and they didn't have any star players whatsoever, I think. So, yeah. Issa has one from Hellraisers. Blame F has one from Pinnacle Cup, and that wasn't online. That was on LAN, actually. But I think that was when he was on Astralis and Phase 1, I think. Knock has one from 2 years ago when he played in Espu, I think. Or maybe it was even last year. But it was when they played Espu and Furia 1. And the most egregious one, Electronic, his only MVP award is from Epicenter when Mouse won. No, it's from Ice Challenge, but Mouse won. That's the one where he got the MVP.
Yeah, his only MVP.
His only MVP. That's the most egregious one. So yeah, that's all the picks if you're playing at home. A lot of these, you might know that they won an MVP, and you might know that like they played well at some point, but it's hard to remember which ones they won and which ones they didn't. So yeah, that's crazy. I think the Electronic one is insane. The fact that his only MVP is a second place MVP, despite playing.
Yeah, it's not like
winning
crazy
so many
of
trophies.
a second place MVP. He is like 0.12 higher rated than anyone else on Mouse, and also he was top rated in the grand final, so it's fair.
Yeah. I will also say pretty much all of these players got their second place MVPs. Like half of them came against Mouse or Heroic. So
the win by committee teams, yeah.
Yep. All right, well played. 5 out of 6. I will have a different game prepped for you next week because this was actually fun.
All right. Let's move on to our favorite segment, the latest addition to the wonderful timeline of regular segments we have. Cock of the Week. Quack, who have you picked for us this time?
I picked a Danish guy, and it's basically just because of that, honestly. There's no other reason, really. No, he's made an HLTV thread, and it reads, Rostermania, ? We usually expect headline roster moves in the aftermath of majors. Post-Austin, not so much. Calling it a mania is a bit much, so roster midish might be a better word for it. I guess many orgs struggle financially, and that might be part of the reason. Most of the roster changes I've seen so far doesn't seem very ambitious and pretty meh. Please convince me that calling it a mania is in order. Now, I'll just say, our roster mania episode last week had a page and a half of different roster moves.
Yeah, we had a ridiculous amount of roster moves to talk about, and we still have like a good dozen or so today. It has been a lot of moves, just because they don't match banned DK's arbitrary standard for what would make it a mania is a bit strange, because as far as teams going crazy making lots of moves, we've 100% had that happen. We've had roster moves at the top end of the scene, the middle, the bottom. Players have gone up and down in quality of their like actual roster they're playing in. Just because Vitality, Mouse, Mongols have not made a move doesn't mean that there wasn't a mania. I mean, we saw Spirit make a move. G2 made multiple moves. Heroic had to rebuild. Na'Vi have upgraded, promoted a player. Falcons bring in Kyosuke. FaZe had to go back to their old roster because they couldn't afford to make the move they wanted happen. There's a bunch of moves that have come through. I don't know what they want, but as far as roster moves that make sense, that's happened. And it's been a bit of a mania. There's been a lot to keep track of.
Half of the current top 10 have made headline roster moves. Like G2, FaZe, Falcons, Na'Vi, and Spirit. Yeah, this is a bullshit take. And we've had many more roster moves further on as well, like Heroic and Gamer Legion have made noteworthy changes. Virtus Pro signed Perfecto. That is a headline change. I'd count Astralis because they confirmed with Hooksy, who previously was not a given. We have MIBR making moves. We have 3D Max technically made a roster move with a coach change. But even if we're just talking players, then NIP made a move. They're top 30. Complexity have not made a move, and Nemiga are forced to make a move because they got a player signed. Like it's we're having moves happen all over the top 30, and it's actually been very exciting. So yeah, there has been a lot of roster mania. And also, I also like the point about teams struggling financially, and that being one of the contributing factors. But like all of the teams we just mentioned, bar FaZe, have made pretty big. Bar FaZe and Navi, I guess, because Navi promoted an academy guy. They've made pretty big money moves. Like we're talking buyouts for Zwei. We're talking a buyout for Kyusuke, a historical buyout even. We're talking buyouts for G2 who are buying Snacks and Senpaius, and Mattis as well, I think, is not going on a free. Virtus Pro actually signed Perfecto for free, but it's still a big it's a big value move.
Mm-hmm.
There's buyouts in all of these. Like
it's a huge name as well. It's not like just some random bro. It's Perfecto. Like that's a pretty huge name.
Yeah. So Grix also being signed, not on a free. I'm pretty sure Astrum. He had a pretty fresh Astrum contract, I'm assuming. NIP, it's a loan deal, but I'll still count that. FlyQuest bought JKS from Liquid. That was reported as being a buyout move. So yeah, we've had money moves as well. So yeah, that's this is
just a total L take.
Pretty insane. Total L take, and that's why they're here. But also they're Danish. Yeah, most of the bad takes I saw this week were about football. But yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's a pretty simple cock of the week. Very well deserved. Let's get into the continuation of Rostermania. This week only branded as the Eternal Shuffle, though, because it's not the Rostermania episode. Let's talk about some roster moves. Give me some stuff to grade.
Number 1, Navi have confirmed who is leaving the main team to be replaced by Makaze, and it's JL.
Not shocked, because, well, that was kind of the rumor, unfortunately. I don't really like it, but everything Navi had to do this offseason involved rejigging the roles, probably. So I guess anyone could have gone on the rifle front, and it could have been arranged in some way to make sense. JL taking a break from competitive play. I know maybe take care of his girlfriend some more. I don't know what he feels like doing, but at some point he'll be back and he'll probably be okay. But for now, yeah, benched. I was hoping we'd see Emma move on, but his spot on Nexus has been taken, so I assume he's staying on Navi for now.
Yep. Side note, I went viral on Russian Telegram pages this week because somebody listened to last week's episode when I said that I heard one unreliable source say that bit to Falcons was possible. And they took that to mean that I had said that it was going to happen for the 2026 season, which I did not say. But that was very funny. And also, I didn't pay any attention to my hair last week, so my face with this hairdo was being plastered all over Russian Telegram. Beautiful. All right. Anyway, yeah, that was very funny. It's I didn't expect JL to be the move being made. I wonder if that was confirmed when Makaze came in, or if they did it, or if it was the other way around, that we want to promote Makaze, and then JL basically said, I think he said that like he knew Navi wanted to make changes, and he basically got ahead of the curve by saying, I also want to make changes because I also want to take a break. I don't know if he's lying, but that's what he said. And yeah, it kind of makes sense. Like he just got married and everything. Like it makes sense he wants to take a break. And I think what he's always said, it's like the old thing, I'm going to do it as long as I enjoy it. I'm no longer enjoying it, etc., etc. We hear this from a lot of sports people. Like there's a certain kind of sports person who just quits while they're ahead, and like they realize that like I'm no longer having fun doing this, and I'm no longer feeling good doing this. I'm sacrificing too much, and yeah, that's in a way respectable. It's maybe not ideal for Navi wanting to bring Makaze in for JL, but it definitely could have some. It could end up working out great. Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, FlyQuest have benched Lias and they've bought JKS from Liquid.
A plus. I don't know. I don't see how this can be a bad move, basically. Lias has been a problem for them, just very lackluster as an individual. JKS, the last time we saw him, fairly competent, which is a pretty huge statement, especially considering he's playing at a higher level than Lias was. It's just a clear upgrade. This team slowly keeps getting better. As we talk about, In's calling, we thought maybe that could be a step back, but realistically, the calling was never that big of a deal. But Vexite kind of having some impact, Netic being solid, Regali, a great addition for Alistair. All these moves have pushed them forward. I think this JKS move will continue to push them forward. They need to basically establish themselves as a relevant force in Asia in terms of consistently beating the Chinese teams. For this to be considered successful, they at the Hero Esports League they lost to Tyloo twice. The major stage 1 they lost to Tyloo again. They just can't seem to win a series over Tyloo these days. FlyQuest are currently building towards being able to do that. We'll see how well it goes, but JKS is a step in the right direction.
Yes, FlyQuest actually do an interesting thing. They don't play a lot domestically anymore. In 2025. By far, their most played opponent is Tyloo. They played 11 maps, and then they played Semperfi twice in the MRQ. Aside from that, it's basically single series appearances against everybody else. But there's no other Australian teams on here. There's a couple of Asian ones from the Asian Champions League. That's basically the only Asian event they played. But yeah, other than that, it's all tier 1 events basically, and that's cool. I'm assuming they're getting decent practice out of that. I'm assuming they're staying in Europe for a lot of this time. If they're not, they're stupid. But yeah, they're yeah, it's a step in the right direction. I still have some question marks because you really need to find good stuff out of Netic. Has actually done quite well considering all that.
Yes, he really has.
Yeah, but you still need to more consistently find good stuff out of Vexite, and I think Ins isn't looking too hot as a caller, but I mean the numbers also don't lie. He's definitely like their match results have also improved over what they did with Dexter. The thing which is an issue for FlyQuest is like their floor has always been this year at least their floor has really been the big issue, because you're seeing FlyQuest can fairly consistently compete against the teams they need to compete against, or rather they're doing a good enough job in the series as they shouldn't win. That's the thing. In the series as they shouldn't win, when you're playing against Vitality, when you're playing against Spirit, when you're playing against FaZe, even Navi, maybe even Virtus Pro. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. They even win the occasional series against somebody like Virtus Pro. But when you're bottoming out so hard against teams like Tyloo, against teams like Big, against teams like Saw, against 3D Max, when that's your floor, that's when you end up losing. And those are Nemiga. Those are the teams they need to start beating more consistently. And I think putting JKS in here is a step in the right direction, because he's exactly the kind of player who in those games is not going to be the worst player when previously Lias would be. He's going to put in a bigger impact in those series specifically. So baby steps, and from there, that's when you start to reach a solid top 5, top 15 sort of level, and that's when you can start building towards something greater. But yeah, solid move, I guess. We gotta move on. Medisport, they've confirmed their roster. Jaquinho is a new caller, and Malo9 is going to be the new prospect, star player.
Yeah, Medisport not going international in the end. That was a part
They really
of the
wanted to keep it Swedish. Yeah.
Look, I still have a problem with certain pieces. I still don't like Lumen. I still think
Most people don't.
There's not quite as much star power as you'd like in some positions. But look, Malo9 is the rising talent of Swedish CS. He's really strong. Jaquinho coming into call. He's had some okay moments as a caller. He's not terrible. It's just a question of, is this enough? Right now, relying on a 16-year-old, a Plopsky who seems to refuse to truly be a star, and an Orpa who's just a bum. It doesn't feel like it's going to be enough. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be enough. So I kind of give him credit for trying it. But yeah, this is like a sort of a B minus move overall. Medisport seem to have slowly gotten worse since their first roster, and they don't have that knack, that wizardry for magically making things work. Like when they sign random bums, they don't make them magically better. They had one fluke qualifier run for the major, and aside from that, struggled to maintain anything that's even respectable. So yeah, disappointing.
Yeah.
This roster is overall. These moves are fine. It's just not going to move the needle enough.
Signing Melo 9, I think I said from the start, is the only way Medisport make it out of this with even a hope of looking better than they did going into the shuffle. Because I don't think there's anybody else you could have put in here realistically who would have actually been good enough for the team. So for that, I applaud them. It's also a great move for Melo 9. Basically, no matter how it goes, as long as he is not the absolute worst player on the team, he's going to look good at the end of it anyway. So if it goes well, it's probably to his credit. And if it doesn't go well, he's probably maintained a solid enough level where he's still going to be valuable and the experience is still going to be valuable and he's going to find another place to land. So for both parties in that regard, I like it. Jaquinho, you really have to put a lot of stock into what Medisport say about Jaquinho to consider this a good move, because they say he's the best teammate they've ever had. They say he's a really good in-game leader. They say he's very solid on the rifle.
Always the same bullshit
I'm not
every
sure.
time, isn't it? Like,
not a lot of that is being shown. I want to believe it, but it's not really there. I think in the grand scheme of things, people remember Jaquinho on Fnatic. People remember Jaquinho opping for this team, and they rate him. They put him very low on their list. I think he's still somewhat above the community perception of what Jaquinho is, especially with the outside, like with the fact that everybody who played with him absolutely adores him. Like everybody who played with him says he's the best. He's just the best guy, the best teammate, and that's value. That is valuable as well. But it's just
it's won him so many titles.
Exactly, it doesn't win titles. Like it doesn't win titles. That's the thing. So for that, there's got to be something there. Thing is, I'm not sure they could have done much better. Like who else would you put in here? Lekro?
Oh, in terms of Swedish idea, they had one. He's gone. He's playing on Game Legion.
In the grand scheme of things, that's true. Like, but at the start of this shuffle, you like so far they've missed the boat on so many players. Where
you can't really be like, oh, great job. And half the talent there is in Sweden, they said to fuck off. Like,
yes, no, you can't say that. But
so
in the short term of it,
I can't be giving them credit for a lot.
No, but in the short term of this, they had Hampus. They weren't happy with him. They benched him. Who else is there that could do a better job? Pretty much nobody. Who else is it that they could even realistically sign? It's probably Jaquinho or Lekro, and I'm assuming they exhausted the Lekro option since they played with him for an event and didn't decide on him. So it has to be Jaquinho. So yeah, the sadly, I think Medisport are very passionate about Counter-Strike. They're very passionate about esports, and they really care about these things. But they are also, to a degree, to me, businessmen, because they also want to run a profitable operation.
They care about the bottom line a lot more than winning CS maps. Otherwise, they would have made a far better set of moves over the course of the last 2 years. If they cared more about winning than they care about making profit, they'd be so much better.
I'm not sure I'd say that, but I'd definitely say they care about the bottom line a lot more than a lot of their competitors. So, and that ends up being to the detriment competitively. The unfortunate truth, I think, is they're still hitting a lot of their goals. Like as an organization, they are happy with selling Nilo, they're happy with selling Suspend ZTR, and they're happy with making the major. And it's about the goals you set, and that's the metric which you measure your success out of. Probably not everybody in Medisport. I'm sure Abdi wants to win more maps more than he wants to make money off of selling players. But in terms of the direction, I feel like many other team owners wouldn't care about selling players. They wouldn't care about that stuff to the same degree they would care about winning games, and that is a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, it's unfortunately going to be another period which I feel like is going to be rebuilding for Medisport for this fall season.
They're going to be perennially rebuilding till they get lucky on a player again. That's basically what it's going to be. Like, and then they'll probably sell him the second he's good.
Yep. So unfortunately, that's the case. The most credit I can give them is that this is a team which I think might have a decent floor. Like I think Isak, Plopsky, and even Jaquinho, at the level they're at right now, are gonna hold their own. Lumen is maybe a liability, and Melo 9 could punch upwards. But if you're winning 51% of the rounds you play, you're not moving upwards. You're staying where you are, and that's, in the grand scheme of things, they should aim a lot higher than staying where they are. So I honestly, I think they might be holding out for being able to make the Fuzi move. Then again, they had the chance to do that last year and didn't do it. They didn't even inquire about it. Didn't even ask him. So what the fuck do I know? Screw this, and let's move on. Speaking of Medisport, OG have benched Buzz and they've signed Adam B.
That's basically just an A+, pretty simply. Their best rifler may no longer be an AWPer. Maybe. We'll see how he plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adam B, yeah, he's just better at winning hard fights than their AWPer is on the rifle. Let's be real. Nikodos is great, but he's not special on a rifle. Adam B has been at times, just like his brother. I'm very excited for this. Let's see how it goes, but A has to be the minimum grade for that.
Yep, it's as soon as Buzz was benched, I felt like, oh, Adam B is coming because he's free and he fits the role like a shoe-in. And he's very good. And once again, Medisport have had a player leave and then fail upwards. So, or rather, I guess, move on to greener pastures.
Yeah.
I talked about this in the pre-show as well. I did feel like, in the grand scheme of things, Buzz was a good player for OG, and I think in the average you would say that's the case, but definitely for the second half of 2025, he was the weakest link on that team. I think even Fiku is at least putting up a solid enough level in these online games where he's not a liability for them. So yeah, I'm happy with this move, and this actually has the potential for Adam B. Adam B could definitely be the second best player on this team. Like Nikodos right now, I think is at a level where he would need to get worse, but all else being equal, Adam B should maybe be the second best player on the team. So having that come in is for this team is really good, and they keep going with a young core. Hopefully they can stick it out for the rest of the season without losing anybody or benching anybody, and I think we could see them being top 15, top 20, top 15 at the end of the year as well. So solid move. NIP have benched Arosdoce, and they have signed on a loan deal ex-Kasper Sky from ENCE.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I've not been too panicked about. I mean, look, I've not liked the level of either of the Portuguese players on this team. I've always been more concerned with Ujerks than Arosdoce. But yeah, this is the move they've made. I don't know. I like ex-Kasper Sky. I think he'll be a better player. I'm still concerned about Ujerks' place on the team. But overall, NIP, they're now going to be playing more big events. They're going to be playing tougher opposition. But they're also going to get more of the LAN reps that they want to play. And they have some outstanding pieces like Wrinkle, like Shush. And I think alongside ex-Kasper Sky, they're now a more dangerous team. They could probably push for top 15 in the coming sort of 6 months. And that'll be pretty fun to watch, especially if Wrinkle's going to keep playing his fun style. So, yeah, I think it's an improvement. Yep. I think it helps them do what they want to do. It's just a loan deal for now. But yeah, I like it.
Yep. Yeah, NIP also, Arosdoce was kind of a weak T-side player. Ex-Kasper Sky has been excellent on the T-side, so hopefully he can bring some of that mojo over. Yeah, bit weird for NIP to sign back their old academy player, like on a loan, but yeah, it could be really fun. Gamer Legion have confirmed the addition of Kersey.
Yeah, not too sure about this one. Not that big a fan. It's one of those where I've talked about it a few times, and I'm just like, yeah, Ash, prove me wrong on this one as well, if you can. I've just not been that big a fan of Kersey when I've seen him play. So, is he going to be worse than Slend? Probably not. I think that's fair. There's a good chance he's an improvement just straight up. But I haven't seen him as that sort of special talent on the AWP. To be fair, neither did Gamer Legion. They first went for Moldoy, first went for Grix, and eventually ended up here. So, he should be better than what they had, and that's going to be good enough, I think, for them, considering how strong their rifles are, how strong their players.
Yeah, not much more to add there, really. They did go for Grix, they did go for Moldoy. Kersey is at the very least their third option. I think in the ideal world, they would have gone for Fuzi, but I think he got benched too late. I think Kersey was already gone. And I would have hoped that they would have gone for Fuzi, but Kersey was rumored so early that I think the deal was done very early, and I think they didn't. Fusi wasn't even available at that time, which is unfortunate. But yeah, again, yeah. The benefit for Game Legion is nobody's going to buy Kersey. Actually, okay, I did see somebody mention this a bit as a joke, and I'm going to mention it here. This is kind of rostermania, but it's a bit weird. Vitality fired their manager, like their team manager.
Yeah. I saw that.
And somebody joked that, oh, they're gonna start fucking up again and they're gonna sign Kersey instead of ZywOo at the end of the year. Like somebody joked about that. Nobody's gonna.
It's not, is it just like a firing, or is it not?
I think she also said that this wasn't the role for her and it was probably better, but better for both parties. But it's also like she is the manager who started over the winter, ended after having the best season probably any team manager in Counter-Strike history has ever had. So how bad could it be, really?
Oh, so the team manager's fault as well, is it? Fucking hell, everyone's getting credit.
No, but like, look,
the person
that's
booking
obviously
flights is now winning the Counter-Strike match. Like, come on.
I am just gonna check. When did Rops to Vitality get linked? Because that might have been under her watch.
She's team manager, or is she GM of the actual org? Like, let's be real.
She was team manager.
That doesn't mean GM. That could mean flights and hotel checker, and person who helps the team in certain scenarios that aren't Counter-Strike related. Is what I see team manager meaning.
I don't know who exactly handles what on Vitality CS squad. There's no other senior member who isn't CFO or CEO or chairman. They have a manager, a performance manager, and an assistant coach. Maybe Extas is the guy who handles, like, a lot of times coaches handle some managerial duties as well. But okay, supposedly the report that they agreed terms with Rops was 23rd of December, and she joined the team the 20th of December. So I assume she was not directly responsible for the signing of Rops. So for that,
so
I'm just
clearly probably not a GM role. Like, let's be.
I'd say, like, which events do they go to, and it's still like, what's their travel itinerary? Like, some of these things
there's a bunch of stuff that's not Counter-Strike stuff. Is what I'm saying. Like, it's the entire point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
let's not get ridiculous.
Just sounds weird to fire your manager after probably the best Counter-Strike season anyone has ever had. Just feels weird.
I don't know. Maybe they booked the wrong hotel twice. Like, I don't care. Like, this is not a roster move. Liquid have added Flashy as a coach. Let's move on, because holy crap, do I not care?
Yeah.
No offense. Could be a great person. Don't care.
Demars the Rover is gone.
Yeah. They signed a guy who's been around the block a bit in terms of low-level coaching.
Yep.
Was an analyst with Na'Vi. Well. Now he's full-time coaching this team. I mean, it's a bit weird, just in terms of Liquid are a relatively big org. But he's got experience. Could be a good coach. I have no grade on this, really.
Very much a product of ESL Impact as well, because he was with CLG/FlyQuest Red for almost 3 years before going to Na'Vi as an analyst.
Yeah.
And so before that, he didn't really do too much outside of local Hungarian play, as far as I can see.
Yeah. Salamander, then Budapest 5. It's basically the same old roster.
I mean, yeah, Torji, was he there when he was there? Torji was here at one point. Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah, just about, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have coached Torji, which is maybe the only notable player he coached on this team. Yeah. Susp very briefly. But no, yeah. I think he comes from a good background. He's assuming he's going to be quite an analytical coach, so that puts he's not really going to be the head of the team as much as he's going to be an analyst who stands behind them. So could be a good move. It's probably better than Demars the Rover. All credit to him that Liquid were actually not, maybe Mythers leaving wasn't really noticed in Liquid's results, but yeah. RIP the guy with a funny nickname. Big have added Skrunk as a coach. They're getting absolutely Skrunk.
Yes, after that absolutely insane improv comedy styling from Quacker, we do have to analyse the move, try and keep the hysterics down. Yeah, he's a guy who's been around for a while as a coach,
Getting
as
cooked for
a
nothing over here.
IGL,
Yeah.
just in very low level play primarily. Low level, tier two, some like better German teams, but generally just not that higher level. I think it's fine for Big to try a scrunk coach position move. They clearly just aren't that good, but they also don't have that many options as far as Germany when it comes to players. Just being German is the problem they have currently. So
Yep.
hopefully they can find a player at some point because they're going to need more than just a coaching change to go win matches.
Yep. Skrunk has been the butt of a lot of my jokes over the years. So maybe for a lot of time, my prime example of the worst player in in the world, which I honestly might be slightly undeserved. But he's not been great. None of none of the teams under his tenure have ever been that great. I think his prime achievements as a coach include fuck all, but his prime achievement as a player also include B-tier online tournaments being won by alternate attacks. This is not moving the needle for me, and that was 5 years ago as well. So nice. No, yeah, I coaching change is not going to improve or make Big worse. Those might make them worse, but it's not going to move the needle. Anyway, Sangal have signed the Astrum trio of everybody who was remaining except for Kenzie, and Kenzie is going to stand in for them in the next event as well. So I don't know why the fuck they haven't signed him.
Yeah, not sure about why that's happening, but Sango, yeah, it's a big improvement because Sango were a mixed mess before, and now they're a okay team basically. Yeah, not sure who's going to be the fifth if that's not the official fifth.
No, they're playing right now against the remnants of BNE. Wow, with Volt and A-Core. That's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird team.
In the ESL Pro League, and they're actually playing it quite close on the final map. It's the ESL Pro League qualifier, which I would say with this core, maybe Sangal have a chance of making it out of. But yeah, anyway, they are not. They're playing with Kenzie as a stand-in for whatever reason. It's a full Russian team now. We're with Danists as the new Whopper.
Yeah, he's been okay wherever he's been. So,
yeah.
And also in every single role. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, very flexible guy. Let's see what happens. It's like Astrum haven't really done too much for me to the point where I can say it's definitely an upgrade over the Polish team they had, but it's not like Astrum nor Aurora really did that much, and Astrum especially didn't really do that much in their tenure over there. They played events, they didn't win much. Whoop-de-doo. They also didn't lose much. Like they had a very solid level and they stayed at basically the same place all the time. But yeah, anyway. Nexus has also left Sangal and he has joined, Blitz has left Sangal and he's joined Nexus.
Yeah, this is, aside from potentially adding Immer into the team, it's about as good as it gets as far as Romanian teams in theoretical possibility. Like, this is BTN, ZywOo, Blitz, Sound, Launex. It's a pretty solid team. Wouldn't be surprised if they push towards like sort of top 40, top 30 sort of consideration, and that's without relying on some bullshit national team events to carry them. Like, they could do very well at events like Exort Series, at Galaxy Battle, at CCT. So I think this is a pretty cool addition. Probably a solid A, I think, for getting Blitz in the team. Because he's been, at times very strong in international EU sort of tier 2 play, tier 3 play sometimes. Yep. It's exactly what this team could do with when the player going out, especially, is a Raga, who's just horrible. So yeah, easy.
Yeah, Raga is the real Skrunk, to be honest. I think aside from Imma and Regali, Nexus probably have the 5 best male Romanian players at the moment.
Yeah, you could swap Regali in for ZywOo. Like, that's about it. I mean, best in terms of roles as well, because he's the IGL. You're actually going to bring in a random guy. Yeah. I mean, you can bring in, if you brought Immer in for BTN to call, all of a sudden we're talking kind of not super team ideas, and that could be fun. But for now, Imma's staying on Na'Vi. This is the best we can do.
Yep. BTN. Fucking fossil as well, that guy. But yeah, anyway. This is a reported move. Gentle Mates are entering CS by signing Iberian Soul and also Martinez, the 9C's opera.
Yeah, pretty huge. Terrible fucking name, by the way. Gentlemates? No, rename your fucking org. That's god awful.
I think they abbreviated as M8, so we're gonna have, and if they ever play M80, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Mates versus mateys. But yeah, this team, look, Iberian Soul need an AWPer. They have a really strong core outside of that position that they've had for a long time. Like Alex, Mopos, Davi G, they've been together on a variety of teams over the years. And they've actually been a team that plays solid Counter-Strike, historically. But they've also needed that AWP to come in and carry some of the firepower load. Soul's all right, but he's not that good. And Mopos, is very streaky, very high impact sometimes, but not consistently putting up the numbers. So yeah, bring in Martinez and this team is ready to start climbing again. I'd be 100% bought into this. And yeah, just need to rename the org, because Gentlemates is fucking horrendous.
Yeah, on Sossel as well. To be fair to him, he's by far and away the best rated player for Iberian Soul as well. Stado wasn't really doing much, and I'm pretty sure they removed him because this move was happening with Martinez, which is also basically reuniting an old. Let me see if this roster has actually ever existed, but I'm pretty sure that this is an old movie star / Koi team. Core at the very least. This is the exact 5, which is gonna enter this, has played 102 maps with each other under movie star writers. So that's cool. And the core has existed, as you said, for millennia. Like it's so that's solid. Sossel isn't the worst player. I feel like he's just a tier 2 merchant in a lot of ways. But yeah, Martinez really has Martinez I really rate, both on 9Z and outside of 9Z. I think he's been a really solid player. And I think being the guy who he's always come in as, he's never come in as an upgrade into any team. He's come in as the second best player to both Sunpius and Try, I think they had before him on 9Z. So it's always been a little bit like, in the shadow of other players. But I do think he's solid, and he's been solid for 9Z. He was solid for Movistar. And he can breathe some life into this team, so that's cool. They had Fuzi as a stand-in, and Fuzi played really well. So hopefully, I mean, look, if somebody was going to sign this core and try to climb, I think it should have happened a year ago. But there's potential there, I think. Like it's Anyway, Diha has found a home. He's replacing Huffa on BetClick, previously known as Apogee.
Yeah, still don't get why they're now called BetClick. I thought we weren't allowed sponsors as names, but now HLTV's allowed it.
I think the question is, are they Apogee or are they BetClick? And they were fine with being called just BetClick, and they would rather be that, because you can absolutely have the main sponsor can absolutely be the name of your team. Like we have Betera, we have BetBoom, that's no problem. But if you can't have both. You can't be Red Bull OG. Which was actually up for discussion before.
Right, so yeah, this is a better team, basically. Adding DK in adds some experience, adds not necessarily a whole bunch of firepower, but you're not losing a whole bunch because Far was whatever. BetClick have gotten better now. This is just a small upgrade. They've not been particularly relevant for a while. They've struggled to, win enough series, make enough deep runs in these online cups to actually climb. And get another invite, because the last time we saw them was in it's like some sort of pro league or something.
Bucharest.
Oh, Bucharest,
PGL Bucharest.
And
they were solid.
That didn't go terribly, but yeah, Jacob was a big part of that. Bringing Dika probably makes that more likely to repeat. Not hugely, but yeah, still.
Absolutely. Experience, if nothing else. Fluxo have added Decenty and Lucauzi, both players who have been benched from better ranked Brazilian teams in the past few weeks.
Yeah, it feels rough for Piria Junior, but these are no-brainers if you're Fluxo, as far as upgrading your roster. Both decent players. That's it.
That's about it. There's nothing to say here. Hopefully Lucauzi's back where he was. He was in contract jail for Fluxo for a long time because people wanted to buy him, but he had a $400,000 buyout or whatever. But Fluxo, yeah, he seemed happy to return here. He seemed, and he's hopefully going to get the priority he didn't get on my MIBR. Speaking of MIBR, their women's team has added Olga, and this is actually a pretty cool move because Olga historically has been a very good player.
Yeah, this makes the women's scene even more interesting. MIBR getting better. Olga's been a monster forever. She was dominating when she was in Brazil, then she went to HSGFE to form sort of a supposed, like, sort of super team, but I think it's more just they were one of the few teams that could offer a salary of worth. So she ended up on that team. Put up crazy numbers the entire time with HSGFE, dragged them to some significant wins. Return to Brazil, though, makes sense. And maybe now MIBRFE can actually put up a challenge because they are primed, really, to compete with FuryFE, but also compete with the European teams, who aren't quite as dominant as they used to be.
Historically, like, Olga's career rating is a 127, which is insane. Yeah, she's been very good. Even on HSG, they put up some respectable. Occasionally, they put up a respectable land performance, and Olga was basically the driving force behind that. So, star player signing, very good. Let's see what they do. Eternal Fire have added the Polish trio out of Sangel, Masked, Mary, and Beanox, replacing the non-notable Turkish players, the ones that nobody knew. So Calix and Emor have remained.
This is idiotic. This makes no sense and will fail spectacularly. So good job, Eternal Fire. You could have been a Polish team trying to climb from like around 80th. Instead, sorry, a Turkish team trying to climb from... Instead, now you're a mixed team who will also struggle to climb from about 80th. So what was the point? What was the fucking point? No, this makes no sense to me. If it works, wow, good job. But it won't. So enjoy not winning anything because this is... What was the point?
Yeah, the point is to gain a VRS rank. They didn't have that in Eternal Fire. I think they did play open qualifiers. That is what they didn't have one. The old Turkish roster didn't have a rank.
This
now they do.
Much, I'm gonna be honest.
Now this core has never moved. This core peaked at 52 on the 56 on the VRS, which was under Permita, I think. At some point, it was, but they've never dropped below, like early in the season they dropped below the 100 mark, but that like the range between 70 and 100 is nothing apart. So they rarely drop out completely, but they also never go above like the 60 point. So at most you're talking about the difference between a CCT group stage invite or a CCT playoff invite. And
even then, not 52nd in the world, you're not getting a playoff invite.
Yeah, maybe an outside one, but like, no, yeah, probably not.
It achieves very little.
So yeah,
you still have to win the same match you had to win before. Should have stuck with the Turkish.
Yeah, and none of these guys are particularly good. Beanox is maybe the best guy, and he's also not that hot. It's a VRS move alone. But yeah, anyway. And finally, Nemiga have replaced Zwei, the exiting player, with Sowalio.
Yeah, where do I know
you know
him
this
from? Guy? I know him from somewhere.
Ruby,
that's it. Ruby. Yeah, he's...
And briefly on VP Prodigy, yeah. He never played for VP Prodigy, he was just on there.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. His numbers are okay, unremarkable, but not terrible, but no one really stood out to me on that Ruby side for a long time. Like, we're talking the last sort of 2 years of that team. Like, there was times when Moon maybe made an appearance somewhere. In terms of prospects, potentially I was like, oh, maybe Moon's okay. But overall, it's been a pretty whatever project for a long time. So I've not paid much attention. But yeah, Sowalio, that's where he comes from. Cool. We'll see how it goes. But I'm not predicting huge things.
I'm gonna say, Flamus. Let me just look through this. Flamus, prior to Nemiga, didn't have an average above 1.0 in any of the teams he played in prior to Nemiga. And on Nemiga, he dropped a 118. He was replaced by Zwei, who had 5 or 6 HLTV maps in total on a team called Vaseline Worms, 6 in total, where he had a 0.98 average. And he had a Nemiga average of 109, in the major very much peaked. So I'm kind of thinking that like they've already caught lightning in a bottle twice. Is there maybe Maybe a third time they could do it with this random unknown guy nobody else was looking at. But I don't know if they have that deep level of scouting. Zwei also said in an interview he literally only got the spot on Amiga because he DM'd them asking for a tryout when Flammes was benched, and they were like, yeah, fuck, let's try it. And he was good. So maybe this is a similar deal that they didn't even go looking, but somebody just said, hey, can I join? And they tried him, and he was good. Who knows? Yeah, that's it. And we are going to move on to prospects.
We are indeed. Prospects of the week. We do have prospects this week. It's been difficult with rostermania to actually have them, but today we do. I've taken... Well, we've already discussed these players at length, so we don't have to get too elaborate with who we've taken. I've gone with Ryu of Team Lithuania. 1 EEF. Top-rated player on his team. Outstanding performance as always. Currently on Monty, being held back by a bunch of random frogs and other nonsense. I don't know why Monty have gone the way they've gone with their roster, but here we are. Yeah. Ryu, solid player.
Yep, very good. And we talked about him before. We've seen him. We actually saw him quite early on because I think both of us would have seen him in like early ESEA play, like moving about here and there. Product of KRC Genk, one of the few football organizations pretty consistently having a presence in CS. Pretty cool.
Yeah, they
are. Yeah. No. Yeah, I've gone for Emsan. Like I said previously, one of the better. One of the better Swedish players at the moment, both very much a supportive element most of the time, but she is also showed really good stuff with the national team, and that's mostly what I'm basing this off because we haven't had any European play to speak of. So very solid player, anchor kind of player, entry kind of player, here and here and here. Very good. Hopefully she ends up on an impact team for the next impact season because there's shuffling to be made there, and she's one of the definitely one of the peak players who should be on a team for next season.
All right, yeah, fair enough. She has been solid for Sweden, and had a couple okay stints, but nothing spectacular really. So we'll see what comes of it. Still pretty young. But yeah, that's the show. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're watching the VOD and you made it this deep, wow, you must have had a long walk or something. But yeah. We'll be back next Monday. Streams tomorrow and Thursday, yeah. Potentially more, depending on how I feel about Fisher. Maybe just watching a bunch of it, doing breakdowns, doing live reactions, doing a bunch of whatever the hell else. More content coming soon. And yeah.
If you watch the whole VOD, if you watch the VOD to the end, comment the word pomelo, the citrus fruit. Comment the word pomelo. I want to see if anybody actually does it.
Yeah, okay, cool. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.